Back to practice today for the Buffalo Bills. Head coach Sean McDermott spoke with the media beforehand, and some good news on the injury front. Just two players were not expected to practice today, Dalton Kincaid and Fedarian Mathis, while A.J. Epinesa, Josh Palmer, and T.J. Sanders were all expected to be full participants. We'll get official word when the injury report does get released later today, and when we do, the Barnes Firm Injury Report is brought to you by The Barnes Firm. Injured for help? Call 1-800-8-MILLION. And do stay tuned. We'll get more on the Bills, including the team signing edge rusher Morgan Fox to the practice squad and the injuries when Sal Capaccio joins the show at 5 p.m. Staying with the injuries, the Bills do host the Bucs this Sunday at 1, and one thing to keep note of, although it was a walkthrough, Tampa Bay running back Bucky Irving was back at practice and was limited. Irving has been out since late September. Jameis Winston's going to get the start at quarterback for the Giants when they host Green Bay on Sunday. Jackson Dart is out with a concussion. Cardinals wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. is out at least this week after undergoing surgery for appendicitis. And quarterback Lamar Jackson not at practice today for Baltimore, though no word yet on exactly why. Late night for the Sabres. They are out in Utah. Pregame at 8 p.m. tonight for a 9 p.m. puck locally. Colton Ellis expected to get the start in net, and we'll get more on tonight when Paul Hamilton joins the show at 6. And then a busy day in college. Action tonight, UB at Central Michigan. Kickoff at 7 p.m. over on the Bet 1520. The Bulls are 4-1 in the conference. They trail just Western Michigan in the MAC with 3 games to go. And then before that, UB women at Vermont. Tip-off in just about an hour at 4. That game can be heard over on AM 1400. And then also in action in basketball, the Bonnies. They are hosting Siena at 7. And join WGR and Bud Light for a Buffalo Football Friday happy hour. Schopp and Bulldog going to be broadcasting live this Friday, the 14th, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Leo's Pizzeria, 2220 Southwestern Boulevard. You'll have a chance to enter to win a Josh Allen jersey. No purchase necessary. And you can enjoy some other live broadcasts coming up at Mitchell's Tavern and the Draft Room. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly, 21 plus. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
Monday, Tuesday, hump day is halfway. It's Mike Schopp.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
And the Bulldog.
Hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on. I know you can hear me.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
On WGR.
Hump day.
Sports Radio 550.
Gonna be there in an hour, coming in my franchise shoes and my necktie, honey.
A little bit off topic to start. Not that you even know what it's the show. We're probably going to talk about the Bills a lot, and this is Bills related. It involves Josh Allen and the quarterback that they'll be playing on Sunday, the Bills, Baker Mayfield. And I feel like the opportunity that is presenting itself to me as the co-host of the Schopp and the Bulldog show, with the Schopp portion being away today and Nate Geary sitting in, it feels like I'd be missing an opportunity. I don't know that it needs to lead the show, but tough crap.
Here we are. Yeah.
How sick of a burn is it to say someone plays golf with 2 gloves on?
It was a good burn. And he said he's that kind of guy.
He's that kind of guy.
Yeah, that's...
All right. I've seen, said Aaron Rye plays with 2 gloves. I've seen it. I don't think I've ever played with anyone playing golf with 2 gloves. Baker Mayfield made a crack about how tall Josh Allen is, and he needs to use a walkie-talkie to talk to him. I don't know if that was supposed to be a burn or not. I mean, I don't know. I'm a reasonably tall person. I never feel insulted when someone makes fun of how tall I am.
Joke, yeah.
Although, 6'5" is not like crazy. It's not like I'm, Manute Bol or something. Anyway, and Allen was told about that, and his comeback was he wears 2 gloves when he golfs. He's that kind of guy. And I have no idea how good a burn that is, because I don't really get it. Like I don't see people do it, so it's uncommon.
Yes.
Why is it just not manly? Like what is the
it's definitely like an inside, you have to be a golfer to get the joke kind of thing.
Okay, well, see, here's my problem. I think I am a golfer
You are,
now.
yeah. You're an insider now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still don't.
It's sort of like
get it.
the other thing that he could have said was like, yeah, like Baker puts iron like covers over his irons.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, like that guy.
I would hate that.
Yeah, like that.
I would hate that.
The guy that has the 2 gloves probably also has the iron covers.
Okay.
You know, so they're like, you know, you're just,
You just don't need it.
You're an easy target.
You just don't.
You are.
I mean,
you're a tryhard.
Isn't more grip good?
Yeah, I have tried to play with 2 gloves in the this weather.
Sure.
Where I've got to throw winter gloves on and like literally golf winter gloves. That's
a whole nother problem.
Terrible.
Why are you even trying to do that? Is a good question.
Yeah.
I think. Anyway,
no, it is.
Yeah.
No, it's a great question. There's something about having 2 gloves that I need one, like on my left hand, but you throw that second one on, and it's very unnatural feeling for me. So, and I played baseball, and I used to wear 2 gloves when I bat, but I don't. To explain why it's a burn, I feel like it's hard to do, but it's just a try hard. It's just that guy who's wearing what are those like the old what's the golfer I'm thinking of that's at Pinehurst? He's got the
Payne Stewart.
Payne Stewart. He had the big socks.
Sure, the knickers.
Yeah. Imagine someone today at Delaware Park.
I have seen
in that fit.
I have seen such a person.
And whatever your immediate thought is, apply that thought to a person wearing 2 gloves.
All right. The person wearing the knickers at Delaware Park, I feel like I want a hat tip to you.
Yes.
I want to, because that. I'm all over the place when I play there. There are days when I go out there on a Tuesday morning and I'm wearing a Ramones t-shirt. There are other days where I'm the belt is matching the shirt. I'm trying hard. I don't have 2 gloves, but I'm going in. I'm I have this stuff. I suddenly have a closet full of this stuff. We've really come a long way, and so I'm gonna wear it. I'm gonna look at the shoes match the hat. Look at me, right? So the 2 glove thing, I didn't really know. I've been playing a lot in the summer, late in the summer, with a guy who doesn't wear any gloves. Which
I got a couple of friends that do that.
Borderline psychotic behavior.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to swing a club without a glove on?
One time this year, took off my glove. I took off absentmindedly. No idea why I did this. I knew I had a chip to get, but it was it was in the fringe. I'm like, I'm gonna just little chip up and putt. So I'm walking I go to my cart, push cart, and leave my glove, grab my putter and my little wedge, and I go walking to the green, and I'm halfway there, and I go, oh, I forgot my glove. That's okay.
You'll be fine.
That's fine. It's just a chip. I can do that. I mean, I miss those, on occasion anyway, but
right. So
it just felt really weird. I did not like the feeling at all.
So I don't use a glove around the greens when I chip. I just like to feel better.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to recently somebody had a simulator at an event and they were like, "You golf, Nate, let's see your drive." And I'm like, I don't have my clubs. I don't have it's not the right acoustics to do this. And they're like, "What are you talking about? You're a good golfer. Just go up there and swing the club."
I might break the stuff. I'm too good.
Exactly. And I'm like, in my back of my head, what I'm really thinking is, I don't have a glove.
I don't have a glove. Right.
And so I'm, taking a couple swings. I'm like, all right, warming up.
This wasn't the barefoot thing from this.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
So I take a swing.
Sorry to bring that up for anyone who followed along with it. Anyway, go ahead.
Take a swing, and as I'm making contact with the club, it was like, you ever see Hideki Matsuyama do this, where he swings, and right as he makes contact, he assumes because of the feel of the contact, it's the worst shot he's ever made, and he just throws the club behind him.
Sure, yeah.
Well, that's what happened to me. Except there was a lot of people around watching.
Yeah, that's tough.
And it slipped out, and I was like, you guys have a glove? I'm like, I can't swing anymore. Because I can't.
Yeah.
I have sweaty palms.
I don't think I would want to do that in front of no one.
Right.
All right.
So I felt very embarrassed.
All right,
by
so
it.
the two glove thing is just like you're Johnny Tryhard.
Yes.
But you're gym class hero guy. You got too much gear.
Yep.
Like this ratchet it down a little bit. All right. Bills and Bucks coming up. This is the start of our pregame show coverage right here. You're listening to with Nate Geary. I am the Bulldog. This is the Buffalo Bills Radio Network.
A few days in advance.
Oh, sorry. No, we didn't take a break. Anyway, cool to have you here. The Bills and Bucks. Alan, the Bills' passing offense, everything from Sunday. I don't want to rehash Sunday in any kind of great depth. It's Wednesday, and we've got another game coming. We will have Eric Wood today. We missed him on Monday, and so we rescheduled to today. So we'll talk some about what happened on Sunday, but mostly maybe just the current state of things, particularly the offense. With Eric Wood at 4 o'clock. Sal will join us at 5 with the report from today's practice. Quite a few guys came back. Quite a few guys were limited. But maybe it feels like, despite that lengthy list of limited guys, like it's trending in a more positive direction than it was at this time last week. Anyway, Sal will be with us at 5, and then I'll touch base with Paul in the 6 o'clock hour. Paul is in Utah, Sabres and Mammoth tonight. In Utah, and the Sabres are in really, really tough with health/injuries.
Did you see the graphic that I posted earlier?
Yeah, with all the blanks. Yeah, it really is. Real quick, it's 4 Rochester guys basically right now that are in the lineup. Right, Roseanne, Osland, Kozak, Dunn.
Right. Is Johnson in the lineup too? No, that's right. They have.
Right.
Yeah, no, they did not. They don't have Dorian Johnson in the lineup.
No,
Yeah.
No. Jack Bryson is in it.
Yes, Bryson.
Anyway, so they might actually be a sympathetic outfit right now, the Sabres. Anyway, we'll get to that. I wanted to start on just where because you were away, you weren't around for Sunday for the overtime show.
Sorry, guys. Sorry about that.
I don't know what.
Okay.
I don't know what. I can't speak for Zach and Derek, who did the overtime show in your place. Post-game was not
what you thought it would be?
No, yeah. It was not like I went out for beers after I was in such a good mood.
Wow.
Even though the Bills got rolled by Miami. I was like, this went really well. Like, I don't know. It just wasn't.
That's a surprise.
Road game helps, I think, usually.
Road game does help.
As far as drunk people who want to call us names. Anyway, in my experience. So that was good. So, but you went around. Again, I don't want to rehash. Just what is your level of... I don't know, what kind of crisis level would you describe yourself at with the Bills' offense overall, the passing offense, maybe more directly? No Kincaid now for at least this game. We'll see how long that lasts with a week-to-week hamstring injury. And it's not like they've been week over week terrible. They had a very effective and well-executed plan against Kansas City on offense and threw for a lot of yards. Most of it was to tight ends, but still it was good. It looked rehearsed. It looked well-oiled. It was good. Boy, the Miami game was really hard to watch right from the start. And I'm just wondering where you're at on like crisis level, because I'm wondering if this is just one of those weeks and they'll get out of the ditch because they're the Bills. And they'll get back to contender, and well, they still are, and division leader and whatever. But they got a lot of work to do in that department. Just where are you at right now on the, panic meter?
So I think first, before we even dig into some of the Dolphin stuff, I'm glad you brought up the point about Kansas City, because I wanted to make a point about this, which is I really hate. And I even did this a couple weeks ago, but in fairness, it was the right thing to do, because the Patriots were acting like beating the Bills was like they had just won a Super Bowl. I mean, they had people in the locker room and Stephon Diggs, and they're spraying Gatorade on each other. I'm like, all right, I mean, it's week 7 or whatever. Let's settle down just a hair. And you guys have also won 9 Super Bowls as a franchise, so reel it back a little bit, okay? But after that Chiefs game, and I think Nick Wright leads off with the Bills win their yearly Super Bowl against the Chiefs in the regular, and it's a way to be a a-hole to people that are trying to enjoy their team winning, and it's just, hey, congratulations, you won your Super Bowl. The Bills are gonna have a tough time shaking that if they can't beat them again this year. If that happens, so happens. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, they rolled out a very unique pass rushing strategy we hadn't seen all year. Yeah. And in fairness, Michael Hoyt, that was him getting involved, whatever. But they do this every year where it's like they start pulling stuff out against that team that they haven't used all year in a regular season matchup that is just 1-0. All we want to do is 1-0. It's not bigger than it's just the Chiefs and it's a regular season. The problem is the last couple of years they played kind of crappy going into the game, then look amazing, and then they kind of look a little crappy again, and then they figure it out. And it seems like they're really getting up for that game every year, both from a execution standpoint, but also like I didn't need them to roll out that really interesting.
Maybe save it for January,
right? So I just wanted to
just a thought. I don't know.
I wanted to just start with like, hey, if we don't want them to say this is our Super Bowl of the year, we should probably stop acting.
Maybe scheming it up like it is. Real quick on that point, how much of what you're describing is this Michael Hoyt crashing into the guy blocking Joey Bosa so Joey Bosa has a clear path to the quarterback, or Javon Solomon? Because I don't know that I've noticed a lot of that during the year so far, but the Kansas City highlights, that was all over the place. Like one pass rusher was like a designated wrecking ball, not to Mahomes, but to someone blocking someone and basically creating a free rusher. Like that looked pretty creative to me, but also it's possible I've just been missing it the first 8 weeks of the season.
I don't think you were.
Yeah, me either.
So I just wanted to at least note that and say, like, okay, let's just reel it back just a hair here. But going into that game, getting up for the Chiefs game the way you did, I just took everything in me not to be snarky about that loss, which is why it's like I'm kind of happy I didn't, because it felt like for me, the big gripe, and we talked about it before we got on air, was the lack of urgency they had late into the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, was really like I wanted to punch a screen. I'm like, is no one else here? And then, the very obvious ball that hits the ground, and don't they have the former head of refereeing in Sean McDermott's headset? There was 30 seconds that went by. How could nobody see that the ball clearly touched the ground? Okay. And then, we go just for the sake of this game and this Dolphins game.
It's 3:18 p.m. I don't want to dwell on the Miami game.
I'm warm.
Instead of dwelling on the Miami game, we just spent 10 minutes on the Chiefs game. Oh, to be fair, we did spend like 5 minutes on golf clubs.
We did.
That was my fault. Anyway, please.
But I guess where I get to with this Dolphins game is it's 80 degrees. It was hot for, a quarter, and then it started raining. And a couple players were like, yeah, luckily it started raining. And I was like, really? Because it didn't look like you guys felt particularly happy that it was raining. Because I'm watching Josh, and I'm watching the routes in the fourth quarter, and these guys look like they have gone, 11 rounds with Apollo Creed. Like, I'm so confused on how they could be so gassed. Watching even Khalil Shakir run routes where it's just like, that guy's gassed. And they played 60% of the snaps. What's going on here?
Yeah.
So there was just a couple of things from that game where I'm like, man, these are real red flags to me against a bad Miami. That might be the worst defense in football. And it's not. They didn't do what the Bills did to the Chiefs. They didn't come out with some special game plan and unique run lanes. They sold out for the run, because they know the Bills do not throw the football on first down. So we'll just sell out for the run, put the Bills in second and long, and then see if they can figure their way out of it. And the Bills could not figure their way out of it. And to me, the red flag is not, when you go back and you start looking, they must have just ran man coverage. I watched that game on a tablet, and I thought to myself, man, they just ran two-man, too high, man underneath, and they just said beat us man-to-man. It wasn't the case at all. They ran like 80% zone against the Bills, the highest mark they've run zone all year. So this time last year, I saw Eric Turner post this piece. All of the conversation was teams are running man against you. Who's going to get open? In the offseason, it was teams are going to run man against you. That's why we're getting Josh Palmer. He can beat man coverage. Well, now everyone's like, no, we're going to run just really easy. We're going to disguise some things, but largely we're just going to sit back in zone and ask you to just take what the defense gives you. And Josh is not doing that right now. He's not taking the quick game. In this game, the passing scheme, it's very predicated on 1, 2, 3, ball out. And there are plenty of plays from that game where if the ball is out at the top of his drop the way that it should be, it's a 5, 6, 7 yard gain. Mm-hmm. And we get back to this conversation about Josh where we're saying part of him and his inability early in his career to take those was because he was so just infatuated with pushing the ball down the field with his big giant arm. And I get it. We all get it.
Yeah.
But unless they do take it, and to me, James Cook finally has a game where they throw him the football a couple of times. He needs to be more involved. The running backs need to be more involved. And now with no Dalton Kincaid, I just look at it and I say, I want to blame the offensive coordinator. Everybody wants to blame the OC. There are things that he can and should take blame for. Mm-hmm. A lot of it right now is that Josh is just not taking what the defense gives him.
Yeah. I think that from what I've looked at as far as passing, really the incomplete passes from this game, there was a lot of that in this game. And there were also, and I brought this up yesterday with Mike because, we get in here on Monday. I haven't really poured over any of that stuff yet by Monday afternoon. It's more of a Monday night thing for me. It's just the way I get access to that stuff and also time-wise for me. So anyway, not making excuses. But looking back Monday night, of course, Keon Coleman is in the center of a lot of this. He's leading them in snap share. It seems like they're really trying to validate that draft pick and make that work. And it's not going well, right? So he's eating just a ton of lead here, Keon Coleman. And looking back at a couple of the plays from this Miami game down the field that, in the course of watching the game, you might, if you're me, just get, oh, great, another 50-50 ball to Coleman. Yep. What am I even doing here?
Yep.
And that's not exactly what happened on at least a couple of those. There's a long one in the second quarter that I brought up yesterday that I'd like your thoughts on, where Coleman actually beats his guy right at the line and is ahead of him and actually gaining space between the defender chasing him. There's nobody over the top. He's running down the numbers. This is left to right on your TV screen, down the Miami sideline. And he's running, again, on the numbers, not right on the sideline. And he's ahead of the guy, and the middle of the field is totally available. I
could have thrown it to the middle of the field and he could have laid under it.
Out there and Allen throws it to the sideline.
Yeah.
And it actually lands out of bounds. I mean, I suppose if Coleman were closer to the sideline, it could have been a jump ball opportunity at the sideline, which is what the throw made the play look like. But in reality, it was, I don't want to say easy because it's a 50-yard ball in the air, a 40-yard ball in the air. So it's not a high percentage throw, but it's a pretty bad miss, I think.
For him. For Josh Allen, that's a bad miss. Yeah.
And then there's another one going the same direction on the Bills sideline, fourth quarter, where the defender, maybe everyone remembers this, the defender tips it, and Coleman has a shot at corralling it, but isn't able to on the deflection. That's another ball where he just puts that out there in front of him. There's a safety there, so he doesn't have the whole middle of the field to work with, but he's got from the hash marks to the sideline, to the corner to the pylon, basically, to put that ball, and he leaves it short where it can be defended and deflected. And so, I end up at how hard do you want to be on Josh Allen about those, right? We know there are deficiencies there in guys regularly getting open, and that he might be skittish because of that. But those are plays that could have won you the game, I think, when I look at it. And I just wonder from your perspective how critical I should be of Josh Allen for missing those throws.
I think Josh Allen is not above criticism. And it's really hard, I think, for the fans to look at this and say, well, what's wrong? And him being a driving force of what's wrong in the pass game. But I think there is something to be said about, I think part of it is trying to understand why. And that's the hardest part about football because we don't know enough about what they want to do, why they want to do it, and when they're going to do it. So it makes it hard when you're looking at a thing and you're watching Josh throw a back shoulder that's just, you're like, well, what the hell, Keon? What is that? And watching him jog her out.
Yeah.
Well, what the hell, Keon? Well, maybe he's slow playing around. Maybe, so there's just so many things. It's just like so easy that if you want to blame something on someone, you're not going to blame it on Josh. You're going to blame it on other people.
Right.
And I find myself doing that myself. Like, I'm looking at a play and I'm like, this is Josh's fault, but can I find someone else to blame? I think part of it is when you start to not trust things. And when you have the offensive coordinator talking to the CBS crew before the game about how, they, even if it means forcing the ball to a person that's not open in Keon Coleman, they have to do it. Well, if your offensive coordinator is saying that to CBS, then that means it's probably being talked about amongst the coordinator and the quarterback. Yeah. Like, hey, even if he's not open, we gotta get him going. We gotta force this ball. So when you start forcing things in one aspect of the game, to me, there's always a trickle down. There's always a domino effect on other things. Well, now I just tried to press it to him on 2nd and 8 because James Cook only got 2 yards on first down because they sold out for the run. Now it's 3rd and 8, and they found themselves in that all game long, 3rd and longs. So I think that there's some level of pressing, some level of I need to make a big play. And when Josh is in the mindset of I need to make a big play, he starts reverting back to a lot of the sloppiness of early in his career. The double backs and I'm just going to hold it, I'm going to leave clean pockets. Until they can get him into a position where he trusts what he sees, I think we're going to see more ups and downs. One week it'll be good, the next week it won't be. This is a tough matchup. Todd Bowles, they're, I think, 6th in the league in disguising coverages. So they disguise a ton, and they blitz a ton.
Right, which has weirdly given the Bills and Allen trouble this year. All right, 803-0550 is the number if you want to get in on the conversation. If you can, I don't know, I should have had a cohesive way to ask this. Like, where's your, I don't want to say panic. What's your level of concern right now? The Bills are 6-3. The Patriots are 8-2. Patriots have a game before the Bills play again. They play Thursday night against the Jets. So the reality of them being 9-2 while the Bills are sitting at 6-3 is very real before they play Tampa on Sunday. Just level of concern. Is this just another year where we'll look back at the middle of the season, some point in November? I know 2 years ago, late November, after they lost that Eagle game in overtime, I was out of my mind. And then they won again until they lost in the playoffs. Didn't lose again, until they lost in the playoffs to Kansas City. So, where are you at, fans? 803-0550 is the phone number. Nate Geary is in for Mike. I am the Bulldog, and this is WGR.
standpoint, they are simply not good enough, period. And I know they have Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is awesome. I think Josh Allen you're starting to feel the weight of the situation on his shoulders because there is just not a lot of answers with what's going on here right now. And I get it. Bills offense is one of the best rushing teams in the league when they're on. That's great, but that can't be the identity of the offense because their defense isn't good enough for them to be this mauling run first team.
Mm-hmm. Matt Harmon, reception perception, excellent passing game and receiver analyst. Been a guest many, many times on the shows. Glad to have you with us this afternoon. Mike Schopp has the day off today. Nate Geary is sitting in for him. I am the Bulldog. Eric Wood will join us, rescheduled from Monday. That's coming up at 4. We'll touch base with Sal at 5 on the lengthy but maybe improving injury report. I don't know. There's a lot of names, only a couple of DNPs, quite a few limiteds, but some guys did return. Anyway, we'll run over all of that when Sal gets in. Trust issues. You heard Matt Harmon say it there. You mentioned it. I've talked about it. Like I think it is one of the ways that we might not even intentionally be excusing Allen's misses when he does miss is because he just doesn't. Well, why did he bail out on a clean pocket? Because he doesn't trust what's happening down the field. I don't think it's so much he doesn't trust the guys in front of him. It's just like I'm going to stand here for too long waiting for someone to break open, so I better get out of here, right? And then maybe someone will extemporaneously, off script, break open, and that'll be our play, and that's that. But trust, I think, like Joe Brady sitting down with Allen and going over this stuff and telling him to trust what he sees feels a little bit to me like a pitching coach going out to the mound to tell the pitcher to relax.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, man.
Just breathe. Just relax. It's not that big a deal. Just like you do in practice, right? But like your adrenaline's going, and you're just like relax. I can't relax. Right. I'm not saying that is specifically Allen, but I think when the guy that is the most important piece of the equation, the guy with the ball in his hands, is having trust issues, I think it's a very difficult thing. It's easy to say, well, just trust it.
Yeah.
But to me, that's the point. It's just like saying, well, relax. What happens when someone tells you to relax when you're really upset? You usually get more upset.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, how they reel this all back in. But trust issues, I think, are a big deal.
So listening to Matt Harmon, first of all, he's fantastic. I'll listen to that dude for forever, right? He said a couple of things there I think were important. The first one being, well, what I'm going to take from that is I think there's a lot of pressure on. I think the pressure of winning a Super Bowl and their inability to get there, right, wrong, and different, has been more on Josh Allen than on Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane. And I would think in most franchises, you look at the head coach and you look at the general manager, and they're the ones that typically bear the pressure of an organization winning a Super Bowl. They have more control. But because of how good Josh is and how little he's been able to get to the place that players his peers that are as good as him have gotten to, I think there's a inherent pressure on Josh that it's almost you're starting to see the cracks of, I need to do this, and if I need to drag these guys along, I'll do it. But the thing that Harmon said that I don't think gets talked about enough is their desire to be this run-first football team and how it really does not jive with what they have going defensively. And you might say, well, Nate, that doesn't make sense. Don't you want to possess the ball, score, and try to keep the ball away from opposing offenses because you don't trust your defense? Where I think the Bills are in this complementary, everyone eats, this whole sort of mindset they have is, I'll say this about Ken Dorsey, whom I wanted fired. Ken Dorsey wanted to put 100 on you every game. And if it meant they were going to throw the ball 60 times, they're going to throw the ball 60 times because they're trying to hang 100. I get the sense this offense is not built like that. Their mindset is not, we're going to go score more points than you. It is, we want to possess the football. We want to, and I've heard you say a lot, which is like, it shrinks your margin for error.
Sure.
Because you just don't, you're possessing the ball a long time. You have less possessions. You have less opportunities to score. And I sometimes I feel like I watch this offense and I say to myself,
and more opportunities to take a penalty,
yeah, right,
whatever, it's a negative, whatever.
Correct. Yeah. And the more I watch this offense, the more I just get this sense it's like they don't want to be the team that scores on you. They want to be the team that is physical and downhill and takes what the defense and that's fine. But I want to feel like they want to score more points than the other team, not out-strategize the other team. I don't think they're strong enough strategically to do that week in and week out. Yeah. I just don't think they are.
I think this point about Allen maybe feeling the pressure, I think the perception out here is he has to overcome the obstacles that have maybe in some cases we perceive that have been put in his way from inside. Like that he has to overcome McDermott in some way. He has to overcome the roster. And the lack of talent at receiver. And that is a lot to carry. I don't necessarily agree across the board that is the case,
right.
But I think that's the perception,
yep.
And from the perception comes the pressure. And so whatever the reality is, that might be the pressure point, is that he is carrying more of that than he probably should. I think in some cases. 803-0550 is the number. Let's fire it up. Chris, you're first up this segment. You're on WGR. Thanks for calling.
Thanks for having me on. My opinion is not coming from a sophisticated viewer, but my observation is that Josh is not able to get himself into a rhythm or a tempo because they run the ball on first down, and he's finding himself in a situation where he has to throw on third down. The receivers aren't getting enough attempts to catch, and it would be interesting to see if Josh might feel a little less pressure throwing on first down than throwing third and long all the time.
Well, I think that's a good observation. I listened to Joe Brady, his Monday evening meeting with the media, and one of the points that he made more than one time, it might have been just one answer, but he might have said 2 or 3 times within the answer about looking at the game, what would you have done differently, what tripped you up, and he talked about passing against Miami earlier in first downs,
yep.
Because of what Miami, you referenced already, what they were doing, how they were playing.
31st, by the way, 31st in the league in neutral pass rate on first down.
Right.
Meaning they run the ball more than 30 other teams on first down.
Right. And isn't there a tendency under center versus shotgun?
Yep. And
horribly predictable.
And the other part of it too
is
it's
in the 80s, right?
Yes.
You're running from under center 80% of the time.
And you're throwing from
shotgun 80.
And they talked about it on the broadcast.
It's 2025.
Bulldog, they talked about it on the broadcast.
What are we doing?
I think it was it Charles Davis? Is that who had the call in the game?
Yeah, it was right? Okay. He and McCourty and
he was talking about
Andrew Catalan. Yeah.
86. Kincaid runs on the field. They're going to throw the football.
Right.
When he goes off the field, they're going to run the football. And these are things. And when they run their tight bunch set with Khalil Shakir on the far receiver, they're going to run the screen, the tunnel screen. So if we're all watching this,
right,
guys who watch casual all 22 so that we can get on the radio for 4 hours and be knowledgeable about what we're talking about, imagine whose job it is to watch film for 60 hours a week is picking up on those tendencies.
It doesn't sound like that hard of a code to crack.
No.
Some of that.
It's not the Da Vinci Code.
Rudimentary stuff. The dude who has always called us to say, I know what play they're going to run,
right,
is really having a year.
Oh yeah, I coach my kids' little league football team.
Right.
They're
right more.
They are. Yeah, they're having a year.
Thank you for the call, Chris. Eric is next up. Hi, Eric. Thanks for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, what's good, fellas? Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
So I'm having a hard time. I don't profess to be a front office person or anything like that, nor am I a sports psychologist, so I don't want to speculate how Josh is feeling. But it just seems like I have a hard time like being a fly in that room where the powers that be decided that this roster was good enough. Like that conversation actually happened, that they decided that, okay, we can just move forward in this way. Now, not everything is going to work out as fans would like it to work out, but in my opinion, I kind of feel like the shelf life of Brandon Beane and Coach McDermott has been officially reached, and I'm curious on your opinion.
I think Thank you, Eric. I feel more than I ever have that those two, McDermott and Beane, have been drifting apart. I don't have it all written down, but there have been, Mike referenced it earlier this week. A few weeks ago, maybe it was maybe before the bye, during the bye, after the, I don't know, that McDermott talking about two-dimensional offense and what he wants from the passing game sounded to me like a coach trying to make it known, like,
I need a receiver.
I am not okay with the way this roster is put together.
Yeah.
Right? He's never going to directly say that. But there, to me, he sounds to me like he is, I hope I'm not getting too tinfoil hat here, okay? But he sounds to me like he's starting to leave crumbs that he wants you to pick up on.
Yeah.
They're like, I never said, it was when somebody said, we know you love to run.
Yes.
He said, I never said that. I want to be able to run, but I also want to be able to pass. And like that clarification to me was really loud. I just thought for him to want to make sure that my name is not on
attached to it.
I love to run, right? It's to me recognition that he knows what's going on out here and maybe knows how he's perceived and is trying to sort of, I'm more over here actually. And I think this past week with the deadline coming and going and them being attached to Jalen Waddle and Olave and Brian Thomas Jr. and whatever else, and it not getting done, I feel like Beane could be in trouble.
I don't disagree. I also want to make a point.
I think he failed to do what needed to be done last week.
I would agree. And I think there's something to likely be said about the results of last season lying a little bit. And what I mean by that is last year was supposed to be the step back. And I think they overperformed compared to what their skill level was both offensively and defensively. It's a bad defense last year. And they knew it, and they put all of their resources into it because on the station, right, famously, and now the thing about that whole Jeremy and Beane thing was, my immediate reaction was, he just very much unnecessarily put a giant target on his back.
Bingo.
And now, today, first things first, they're playing the sound back on Mina Kimes' podcast yesterday, Justice for Jeremy and Joe. And now, that little target that you did not have to put that on yourself.
No.
It is now giant.
Yep.
In your own words are being thrown back in your face. Yep. And a little of that is, I think, why the breadcrumbs of we tried really hard to go after divisional opponents, which I've got problems with in itself. It was unnecessary.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think if they spin out from here, which, I can't believe I've even saying it, but it's possible. If they don't recover here, I think the target is on him.
Yeah, I would agree.
I really do. Thank you for the call. Thank you for bringing that up. 803-0550 is the number. We'll take a quick break. More calls. Eric Wood coming up in about 20 minutes, more like 15 actually, looking at the clock. He's Nate Geary, and for Mike, I'm the Bulldog. This is WGR. Little Captain and Tennille for you on a Wednesday afternoon here on the Mighty 550. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't been doing this that long. Nate Geary in for Mike Schopp. I'm the Bulldog. Hey, we will get back to phone calls and whatnot here. Want to let you know if you're ready to take your game day to the next level, you can enter online now at WGR550.com for your chance to win a $300 tailgate tray certificate from Alibaba Kebab to feed 12 football fans. Each Friday, a winner will be announced during Football Friday on this very radio show. So fire up your taste buds at any one of their 3 locations. Again, enter online now at WGR550.com. I said we are going to get back to your calls. However, we do not have time to do that now because we enjoyed too much of your insights during the previous segment, and we're up against a break for the top of the hour. But we will reload all this. I mean, we're going to be here all afternoon talking about the Bills. It's just that during the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to be doing that with our buddy Eric Wood, Bills radio color analyst, as well as host of the Centered on Buffalo podcast. Eric Wood joins us right after this. He's Nate Geary. I'm the Bulldog, and this is WGR.
It is a lengthy injury report as the Bills got back to practice today. 14 names in total on the report. However, just 2 players did not practice, Dalton Kincaid and Fedarian Mathis. 8 players were limited, including Christian Benford, Shaq Thompson, and Terrell Bernard, while Josh Palmer, A.J. Epinesa, and T.J. Sanders were all full participants. In the Barnes Firm Injury Report, it is brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured for help, call 1-800-8-MILLION. Stay tuned. We'll get more on the Bills, including the signing of edge rusher Morgan Fox to the practice squad when Sal Capaccio joins the show in just about an hour at 5 p.m. The Bills' opponent for this weekend, Tampa Bay, has wide receivers Chris Godwin and running back Bucky Irving listed as limited participants, albeit it was a walkthrough today. And then some other notes around the NFL. Jameis Winston is getting the start for the Giants when they host Green Bay on Sunday. Jackson Dart is out with a concussion. Cardinals wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. is out at least a week after undergoing surgery for appendicitis. And Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson not at practice today due to what is being described as knee soreness. Late night tonight for the Sabres. They're out in Utah. Pregame at 8 for a 9 p.m. puck drop. Colton Ellis expected to get the start in net, and we'll get more on tonight when Paul Hamilton joins the show at 6. And then a busy night in college. Action tonight as UB is at Central Michigan. Kickoff at 7. That game can be heard over on the Bet 1520. The Bulls are 4-1 in the conference and trail just Western Michigan in the MAC with 3 games to go. Before that, coming up in just a few minutes, UB women at Vermont. That game can be heard on AM 1400. And then also in action, the Bonnies. They are hosting Siena at 7. And join WGR and Bud Light for a Buffalo Football Friday happy hour. Schopp Bulldog going to be broadcasting live this Friday, the 14th, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Leo's Pizzeria, 2220 Southwestern Boulevard. You'll have a chance to enter and win for a Josh Allen jersey. No purchase necessary. And you can enjoy some other live broadcasts coming up at Mitchell's Tavern and the Draft Room. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Well, we were bummed out on Monday to not have Eric Wood available to us, but see, rainbows today. We get Eric Wood on a Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Eric, good afternoon. Mike has the day off. I hope you're acquainted with Nate Geary. This isn't jarring for you to have Nate in Mike's spot. How goes the week so far, Eric?
After some travel mishaps that made me miss the show on Monday, I'm doing all right now. And, yeah, glad to be joined by you. And talked to Mike earlier and sent my condolences and had an aunt that lived over 100 years old. Pretty special. Righto. Yes, that is why Mike is away today. He'll be back tomorrow. So how I don't want to spend too much time on the Miami game. It's so many days ago already. I'm curious, sort of as an overview, when you're watching a game where the Bills, particularly on offense, are having such a hard time, do you? Because I know you're there doing a job, right? I mean, you're analyzing the game. You've got things to keep in mind that you're doing. Are you thinking, oh, they'll get it together here? Like, this next drive will be the one. Is that like still the former player in you that think like be optimistic, or are you sitting there watching a game? Like, I feel like a lot of fans that are active on social media during the games have their heads in their hands while these games are going on. Obviously, you can't do that because you're talking. I'm wondering when they're struggling like they were on Sunday, do you think like just one good play and you're out of this? Well, if we're at home, I'm usually messing with Nate Geary about his tweets going off the rails during our radio timeouts. But, no, I mean, it's natural for me. And if we have time, I like to bring up points like this on the broadcast, like, hey, I think they need to lean into some more play action here, or, get the passing on earlier downs, or lean back into the run game. We don't always have time coming in and out of breaks to do that. We often talk about that off air. But, yeah, it's ingrained in you after, 4 years of college football and 9 years in the pros to be looking for answers out there for your team. And we can have a biased broadcast. We're focused mainly on the Bills. And so, yes, I'm out there looking for answers throughout it. And, I don't know half of what Joe Brady and those guys know as far as solutions go. But, during my time with the Bills, we'd come to the sidelines. You're talking with the coaches. You might make suggestions of what we should get to or what we're feeling out on the field in those moments. And so, yeah, that definitely still hits my brain. And, I can do nothing about it. Coaches, I learned this year, coaches cannot have their cell phones in the booth with them or else it's a massive fine. And I found that out because Aaron Cromer, for the last preseason game against the Buccaneers, he went up to the booth and let his assistant coach the offensive line for the day, and he just took it in the game from the booth and helped out the staff from up there. And I said something, or I had texted a picture of him eating right before going in there, and he didn't get it till afterwards. He said, no, I think it's $15,000 or something if you even have your phone in the booth.
All right, well, let's be careful about that then. All right. Well, then Sunday, as that game is unfolding, what did you see? What could the Bills have pivoted to that they didn't? What went wrong? It's 16-0. It's not like they were getting killed. They just could not get in the end zone for 3 quarters in this game against a Miami team that, it's not like Miami showed up ready to go. They blew a timeout before the clock had even started.
Threw a pick on the first drive.
Threw a pick on the first drive. They were oh, here they come. They're ready to go. They were sloppy.
They were the Dolphins.
They were the Dolphins to start the game, and the Bills couldn't take advantage. So, why were they so stuck in the mud as you see it, Eric?
Yeah, I think at times they were trying to force the run game, and Joe Brady talked about that on Monday where – they were doing some stuff personnel-wise, adding some bigger bodies on the field, which didn't allow us to get to the second level as easy. It allowed their linebackers at times to run through, to contact Cook in the backfield where he's struggling at times to even just get back to the line of scrimmage. And then, they would have a good drive, and then here comes a fumble. Here comes a turnover. And, it's just a recipe for disaster. And then you would struggle on first down, and then you get to these obvious pass situations because of your lack of production on first down, especially, to where now Miami's running simulated pressures, and, there was a variety of issues with the passing game. It's hard to pinpoint one thing. At times it's separation. At times it's decision-making by Josh. At times it's, potentially, I don't want to say a bad call, but an inopportune call maybe based upon the defense they called. And so you combine all that, and it turns into a really lackluster day on offense. And then, when your offense isn't producing, we also never got great field position. The two interceptions were both essentially arm punts down the field, and then on the one we get a penalty, and so instead of starting at the 40, we start at the 15. We have a good kick return. Instead of starting at the 40, we started the 13. I think we have the second worst average starting field position in the NFL this season. And when you have a offense that is struggling at times, you talk about complementary football. We're not getting much from the return game. It's fine, but it's not doing us any favors, especially the kick return. Punt return's not doing a whole lot at all. And then you get a couple turnovers, but you're still backed up. And it was a tough day at the office for the offense, obviously. But I think them just being a little stubborn on first down with the run game when Miami was either adding an extra defensive tackle or playing these big personnel groupings with stacked boxes, it just wasn't a recipe for success.
I wanted to ask you, Eric, because I found the most frustrating part about watching that game back was the lack of urgency that the Bills offense was playing with at the end of the third quarter going into the fourth quarter. And I kind of noticed it. It's been sort of an all year thing where it seems like part of their philosophy offensively is like we want to eat some clock and we want to possess the football. And it's almost like I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, how it's like with Ken Dorsey, you had this extreme of we want to press the ball down the field. We want to score 100 points on you. That was kind of the mindset of the Ken Dorsey offense. And then we got to the absolute polar opposite where it's a run game. We want you to possess the football. We want to use all 3 downs. We want to find ourselves in third and shorts and third and accessibles and kind of move the football down the field methodically. And I find it when they start to turn up the energy, they turn up the pace. I think about the fourth quarter against the Ravens. And I think about what the offense looked like after the first couple of plays in their first drive in the fourth quarter, where they go right down the field. It seems like when they go to a more urgency or a quicker game, they have more success, but it seems like they're so ingrained in wanting to slow things down that it's almost too extreme.
No, and that's fair. That's a fair point because, I'm seeing that as well. Now, I'm not in those meetings. Are they trying, this is a banged up defense. Are you trying to protect your defense a little bit in those situations potentially? But no, I'm with you. And to me, I had a conversation with Kyle Williams about this at some point throughout our career when we were still playing together. And I said, what are the toughest offenses for you to go against? Is it the up-tempo or is it the slower offenses? And he said it's the ones that get in and out of their tempos where you don't know if it's going to be hurry-up offense on the ball where we're trying to communicate a play in because they've gotten in the huddle the last two times, or it's when you mix up those tempos, that's when it becomes the most difficult to defend. It's the most difficult to communicate. They don't know whether they have time or not. Are we going to be able to get personnel groupings in? And it's being able to mix and match out of those tempos, I feel like, it is a way to get out of a funk. And we would see that pretty often with Brian Daboll when he was here where, okay, the offense is starting a little slow. Okay, let's get into hurry up. Let's try something different. Now, we had the opposite extreme when we had Nate Hackett and everything was no huddle. Well, then a defense can prepare for that throughout the week, and they know what's coming on a snap-by-snap basis. Then you have a 3-and-out, and you really screwed your defense. But I do think getting into some of those tempo situations can really limit what the defense can dial up, and where we've had some struggles with, whether it's identifying pressures or – they're showing a pressure and we're at the line making a bunch of checks and then they drop out of it. You can get them out of a lot of that stuff by keeping people on the field. And then if you could extend a drive, you could really wear out a defense with that tempo.
Former Bills center, current radio analyst, also host of the Centered on Buffalo podcast, Eric Wood, our guest here for his weekly visit on the West Her Hotline. So, Eric, you mentioned Brian Daboll in the course of talking about that point about the tempos.
Yeah, I thought that might trigger.
Yeah, well, it should have been on my list, and you reminded me to make sure it is. So here it is. Like, let me from this angle, let's tackle it. How hard would it be? Like, what purpose other than making fans go, oh, Brian Daboll's back. Yeah, the offense was awesome when he was here. Mostly that's selective because I took plenty of calls from people who wanted to fire him.
That Jacksonville game.
It's always the offensive coordinator, Eric. You know that. It's never the quarterback's fault. It's always the coach. So functionally, if you were to reach out to him, which I don't think is imminent at all or anything, but I'm just wondering, how practical of an impact could someone like that have after the team's already played 9 games?
Yeah, it's interesting because oftentimes you'll see guys go be a senior analyst somewhere for free because they're still getting paid by another team. So they got to take a free position, kind of an unofficial position, but they want to stay around, and maybe that sets them up for the following year to be an offensive coordinator there or something else. I think Saleh did that.
Yep.
Yeah, with San Francisco last year, and then he transitions into their defensive coordinator. I think the more smart people you can have in a room generally helps, where they can give you a different perspective or say, hey, have you thought about it from this angle? Now, you get too many alphas in a room, and that's a recipe for disaster. And I've never played for Joe Brady or Brian Daboll, And I just don't know how that dynamic would work if you brought him in as opposed to, Saleh leaves San Francisco. He knows a bunch of that staff still. It might have been a guy who worked for him. Each situation's different. You add someone that can bring a lot of value in the room, that helps, unless it becomes a deal where he might be it's an uncomfortable position for Brian Daboll to be an offensive coordinator for so long, then a head coach, and then to take a back seat. I don't know how that would work. It could potentially be great. It could be a disaster.
Do you think it's worth trying here?
I would say No, and mainly because I do feel like if they can start mixing it up on early downs and get to some pass concepts that can put them in better positions, be less predictable, this run game's still going to be great. It wasn't last week, but moving forward, I anticipate this run game to still be effective as long as they're not too predictable with it. And you know, I would say I would probably lean against it, even though I really like Brian Daboll, and I do think he could add value in there. I just don't know how that dynamic works if you throw him in there as well.
Right. I think that part of this question will be a reason why I thought it would make sense for Brian Daboll for the team to bring him in at this point, even though you don't want to undermine Joe Brady. But how do you, when you watch these games in real time and then you watch them back, I don't think there's any argument, Eric, that Joe Brady can scheme up with the best of them a running attack, especially with Aaron Kromer. Like, those two together have, I think, over the better part of 20-plus games together, have built a really strong running scheme. Like, it works week in and week out, even when teams are lining up against it and know it's coming. Where is your evaluation, though, on what they've been able to do with passing concepts? Because that's, to me, is like, man, if Daboll could come in and provide some, even if it's just help them self-scout a little bit about what they're doing through in the passing game and some of the concepts they're running. Because I think for me, where I think the scheming has fallen short, if I'm going to point to one area, it is some of the passing concepts, because I feel like sometimes the forcing of the ball to Keon Coleman, I mean, now that we know Joe Brady has said it, like, they're trying to force him the ball, and I'm not sure that a lot of the concepts they're trying to run with Keon are really that built for Keon. So, like, if you just look at it in a vacuum and you say, hey, we all agree he can scheme up the run, where are you with the scheming up the pass?
Yeah, and I see that there could be definitely some value there where it might be different concepts that Joe Brady hasn't run or just a different set of eyes. There could definitely be some value potentially of whether it's Daboll or somebody else. But, you know, to me, and I had Stevie Johnson on my Center on Buffalo podcast this week that'll release tomorrow. He talked about this and in talking specifically about Keon Coleman, like, if you're not giving him consistent stick routes or comebacks, it's hard to beat a guy over the top or even to get those back shoulder fades. Now, I don't know that Keon becomes your Stevie Johnson or Stephon Diggs where he's getting that many targets to be able to set those up. But if that's who you want him to be, he's likely going to need to run those different routes or be targeted at those routes to be able to make those plays down the field. You know, I'll be honest. It's hard for me, and this is just me being completely frank, it's hard for me to critique pass concepts just being an offensive lineman. Now, look, I've been around football my whole life, and so I understand most of them. But, you know, for me at times, I'm like, I don't know if that was an option route or if he sat the wrong direction or what happened there, but it's disjointed. It's miscommunication. And so, you know, I thought especially when Joe Brady first took over, I thought some of his 4 strong concepts that I would see Dan Orlovsky break down were fairly cutting edge, put a lot of stress on the defense, especially when teams were going mainly zone against us because we have Josh Allen and they didn't want to run man and have him escape the pocket. But no, I think it's fair criticism to say that we need potentially some different pass concepts down the field to produce at a higher level. But I'm just trying to be completely honest with you. That's not my particular wheelhouse to critique. And I don't think it'd be fair to me to say, you know, bring in someone because that's not my wheelhouse.
With that said, Eric, how they're really in tough now. I mean, Palmer is coming back, it looks like, so that's encouraging. You know, Coleman is what Coleman is. I don't know, maybe he'll have a big game one of these weeks and this will all sort of calm down. But they're down Kincaid now for at least this week. We'll see. And that has been maybe only dependable, the most dependable, certainly, thing they've had in their passing game other than like tunnel screens to Shakir. If you want something down the field, it's really been Kincaid that's been reliable. And with him out, I wonder, like, what kind of pivot, in a week here? It's already Wednesday. So they have a mini bye or anything. They got another opponent coming in here that's blitz happy and tough against the run in Tampa Bay. Like, how imaginative can they get within their passing game with the personnel they have to unlock something here that they have not yet been able to use?
Yeah, I don't know that they got to get super imaginative. It's, kind of leaning into, whether it's the RPO concepts that we used to see more, which if you see teams that are going to blitz a bunch, if they sit back, you hand the ball off. If not, you hit a slant behind them. Some of our bigger plays down the field have come because of those screens on the outside where guys then release and people are sitting towards the line of scrimmage because they're worried about making a play on Shakir. So some of our bigger plays have come off of that. But, I would say you can get pretty creative throughout a week, but I think ultimately our biggest success is going to come off of play action and heavy personnel, like giving a true threat of a run and having hard play action off of that and getting, whether that's shots down the field or, crossing routes or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then, finding Josh, utilizing the Curtis Samuels, the Elijah Moores to make people feel threatened by those guys.
What do you think of Tampa?
Tampa's kind of tough to read. I mean, just because they've been so banged, if they have Godwin, they're not going to have Mike Evans. If they have Godwin and Bucky Irving, they're a pretty strong offense. And then a Todd Bowles defense is always hard to prepare for. I think they're a solid team. I wouldn't put them in maybe the top 3 or 4 of the NFC, but they're a solid team.
Yeah. Irving was on the practice field today, which was a surprise to me. Like the way it read yesterday.
Yeah, we heard.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Monday press conference was we don't expect to have Godwin or Bucky Irving, and then they're both out there today practicing, but it was a walkthrough, and so maybe that's some theatrics there, but we'll see.
All right, Eric. Anything for us? Anything we miss here?
I don't think so. I think we've about covered it. I mean, I thought we weren't going to touch on the Dolphins, and then
and then the whole thing was about the Dolphins.
Well, and here's the deal. The Dolphins game was an encapsulation of a lot of the issues that we've seen throughout the year. So it's hard to look forward without addressing where the offense was through the first 3 quarters, some of the missed tackles, the big plays for Miami. It's like when we've struggled this year, it's been that in turnovers and then at times penalties, but it's turnovers and then those same issues that we saw against Miami.
Oh, wait. I've got an important one for Eric. You walk out onto a golf course, Eric, and you see a guy warming up on the driving range and he's got 2 gloves on. What's your radio appropriate response in your head when you see that guy wearing 2 gloves?
Is it raining?
No.
Is it freezing?
No.
Yeah, it's not a great look.
I can't explain why.
Right.
It's just not.
Yeah. We opened up today. I don't know if you've been following it. Josh and Baker Mayfield have had a little news conference fun today. Mayfield made fun of how tall Allen is, which is a weird burn, in my opinion, because Mayfield's not very big. I guess maybe that's the rub. And Allen's response was something along the lines of, Baker, he wears 2 gloves when he golfs. He's that guy.
That's funny.
I know.
He's got sweaty hands or something. You play in 100 degrees and 100% humidity, you might need 2 gloves.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think black gloves are a bad look as well. It just screams like you're
gym class hero. Right.
Oh, I compared it, Eric, to somebody that's got the iron covers on.
Oof, can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you didn't say I have iron covers.
Right. I felt pretty confident.
That would have been awkward.
Yeah, I felt pretty confident he didn't.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. I'm still pretty new to all the golf stuff, so it's not as ingrained in me as you guys. All right, Eric. Thanks a lot for this, and we'll catch up on Monday. Safe travels, I hope.
Okay.
Or comfortable, like orderly travels as well, on time.
Orderly travels. Being in Buffalo, this one doesn't make me as nervous because I can always get in the car and drive in 7 hours. The Houston game, has got me a little nervous, but well, hopefully it'll all work out.
All right, dude. We'll catch up later. Thanks.
All right. Yep. You guys have a great week.
There's Eric Wood on WGR. His weekly appearance is brought to you by Northwest Bank. For what's next, get started at northwest.com, and by Northtown Kia, Western New York's #1 Kia dealer. Shop at northtownkia.com. All right. Lines are open at 803-0550. You want to hop in? Anything that we poured over with Eric Wood, really, where's your level of concern? Is this just the yearly? Because I thought we did that with the back-to-back losses before the bye. I thought, but here we are again. Not that we were all expecting the Bills to go undefeated after they lost 2 games. Is this just an annual kind of rite of passage, or are you a little more shook by what the Miami game looked like and their passing offense looks like overall? We can get more into that as we go here again. 803-0550 is the number. Nate Geary is in for Mike Schopp. I am the Bulldog, and you are listening to WGR.
Lengthy injury report today for the Bills as they return to practice. 14 names in total on the report. However, just 2 players did not practice, Dalton Kincaid and Fedarian Mathis. 8 players were limited. Those do include Christian Benford, Shaq Thompson, and Terrell Bernard, while Josh Palmer, AJ Epinesa, and TJ Sanders were all full participants. And the Barnes Firm Injury Report, it is brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured for help, call 1-800-8-MILLION. Do stay tuned. We'll get more on the Bills, including the signing of edge rusher Morgan Fox to the practice squad when Sal Capaccio joins the show in about a half hour at 5 p.m. Bills' opponent this weekend, Tampa Bay. Wide receiver Chris Godwin and running back Bucky Irving were listed as limited participants today, albeit, though, in a walkthrough. It is a late night for the Sabres. They are out in Utah. Pre-game at 8 p.m. for a 9 p.m. puck drop. All signs pointing to Colton Ellis getting the start in net. And we'll get more on tonight's matchup when Paul Hamilton joins the show at 6. And then over in college, we've got a packed night tonight. Already going on, though, right now. UB women at Vermont. That game is in the second quarter. UB trails Vermont 20-15. Coming up later tonight, Maction UB is at Central Michigan. Kickoff at 7 p.m. over on the Bet 1520. The Bulls are 4-1 in the conference. They trail just Western Michigan in the MAC with 3 games to go. And then also in action, St. Bonaventure. They host Siena at 7. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I think last year's success recipe is not this year's success recipe. Last year, we were all questioning Brandon Beane's decision to not give Josh a number 1 receiver. Buffalo Bills probably has the best trio of talent at the tight end position in the whole league. Those guys can play, but that's not a recipe for longevity when you have a 3rd and 6. You cannot be in 12 or 13 personnel. When you have, got to have situations where somebody on the outside has to consistently beat man-to-man.
That is Cam Newton, his assessment of the Bills' offense. Best tight end room in the league. Did he say that? Right?
I think they're a pretty.
Kincaid's good.
Yes,
if he can stay on the field. I like the roles that Hausen knocks her, and I don't know. Anyway, there's Cam Newton saying some stuff about the Bills' offense. Just like we say stuff about the Bills' offense. You don't have to agree with what we say. I'm not sure I agree with everything Newton said there. Getting someone who's going to win outside is like, wow, that's very high on the list for sure. So the tight end thing just sort of stood out there, but not to dwell on that. 803-0550 is the phone number. Nate Geary in for Mike Schopp today. I'm the Bulldog. I promised we'd go right back into calls, so we're going to go right back into calls. Eddie is first up this segment. Hi, Eddie. Thank you for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, nice job. Nice filling in. Next man up, right, Gary? Okay?
That's right.
I'm impressive, guys. Thank you. It's kind of a breath of fresh air, actually, guys. Just kind of, I needed to kind of let the air out and let it, diffuse a bit. It was nice to hear that Bulldog had a good night after the game, because I actually did too, and just let it go. I just wanted to that's the one I don't want to watch the tape on.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And I loved hearing that, so that's good. But, I personally, it's funny, I told my dad, he asked me before the game. I go, not that I'm usually wrong anyway, but I'm like, I don't have a good feeling. He's like, why? I go, because down in Miami, their offense is on point. And we've always had trouble with it. Even when we beat them, their offense is on point against us. So I was concerned. And they, to be honest with you, the way we've beaten them like a drum, there's probably one team they want to beat the most, and it's got to be us. But not that they had it together to do it, but you give them enough opportunity, it starts to build. They think this is the chance. This is the time we can put them.
Sure.
And they did it, But it goes back to my other point, which goes back to the week before. And this is the way seasons are marathons. This is how I view it. And if I can't take the ups, then I really can't handle the downs. And so I didn't celebrate for beating the Chiefs. But if there's one team I want to beat, it's the Chiefs, man. And so I'm going to enjoy that week. I don't care if we didn't deserve it or we did deserve it, or I don't even care. If Mahomes and that team walks off the field, irregardless of the fact that maybe, what we should do later, or I can't buy into that. And I just feel like if you can't take the ups, then these downs are going to just even smash you harder. And these are going to happen, especially this year. Never seen so many high-quality quarterbacked teams handle massive adversity this year. And it just seems like that was the day we were going to have. Every time, as you said, we decided to get our game together, something else would happen. I mean, James Cook, Josh fumbling, Josh throwing the interception in the end zone. I mean, these things just don't happen. Eventually, the team is just going to constantly be deflated. And I'm not making excuses because I hated their intensity. I hated the way they approached the game. And but thank you guys for everything you're doing.
All right, Eddie. Appreciate the call there. I don't know. I don't want to make it sound like I was in a good mood after the Bills lost this game. It's just that
you weren't ready to burn the world.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's funny. I mean, I went to the joint I always go to, and it was pretty 6:30 on Sunday night. They were shutting up at 7:15, so like it wasn't a long run. But there were a few Bills fans there, and there was one couple sitting at the bar, and they recognized me from this job, and we just started talking about the game, and they yelled some, I yelled some, and we're just sort of throwing back beers and just commiserating, and then the dude just I love this so much. Like, but really, I'm fine.
Yeah,
they're fine, right? I'm like, yeah, they're probably fine.
Yeah.
Now it's Wednesday, and I'm not sure. That was probably the beer talking Sunday night. Like, I'm not sure they're fine.
The thing about games like Sunday is that how long, like, at what point was it like, okay, this game's actually over? I think it was probably the first long Achane touchdown where I was like, all right, this is over. But even after the Josh fumble, I'm like, well, it's going to be much harder, but they're still going to do it. Like, they're still going to do it. Right. So that game happens every other year where it's just like...
That's why I asked Eric about it. Like, when you're watching a game, like, you're just waiting for the thing that's going to get them right.
They reminded me of the Jaguars game.
Because I kind of do that, too. I'm just... Is it... All right, just come on. Do the thing. It's like the kid with the stick poking the... Like, do something, right? That meme, that's what I feel like watching.
Just do something.
Just do something. Yeah. Do something. Yeah. And then it never happened on Sunday. And that is familiar. Like the Jacksonville game you're talking about the Urban Meyer 9.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I am. That was the game that you would have gotten a lot of fire Brian Daboll calls.
Yeah. Yeah. No question. All right. Thank you for the call there. Adam is up next. Hi, Adam. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Great. Thank you.
Great. So, knowing that this roster's gotten older, thinner, the cap situation's in a scary, scary spot, and it's been almost semi-cap hell. I want to ask if this season results in either a first-round bounce out, missing the playoffs, or not even winning the division, do you think the GM should be fired? Now, I know that people are skeptical about changing the head coach, so I'm saying maybe just the GM because you don't really know who the next hot GM is. Whoever it is, I'd rather take someone that works under Howie Roseman because he's the best GM right now in the league.
Right.
But, do you think – I want to ask you guys flat out, if any of those three results happen, do you think the GM should be fired?
I don't think – I'm going to stumble with that phrasing.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
He should be fired. I think there is – if they don't get right here – what is get right? Win the division. They got some work to do to pull that off. If you looked at New England's schedule, it's hellaciously easy. But, whatever. They're not great. They could stumble. They're 8-2. It's kind of incredible to me that they're on a 7-game winning streak, I think.
Yeah.
We covered this a little bit earlier. I feel like with what has happened with Bean going all the way back to the day after the draft and going as hard as he went about what they had, what he believed they had. Look, I signed Josh Palmer. Yep. We scored our 30 points and all this stuff. And it's idiotic to be, focused so much on adding receiver because look at our results last year. Right away, it was not like the most heated point to make, but my objection to all of that is, I didn't enjoy the way he, went off on our friends and coworkers and whatever, but, whatever, tempers flare, that's not unforgivable or anything to me. So, I'm not deeply offended or anything. I just thought banking on your results from last year, holding that up in a year where your turnover differential was so incredible. And this is not me not expecting them to take the ball away or discrediting them, because they've been great at taking the ball away year over year over year under Sean McDermott. They only gave it away 8 times, which is ridiculously low. Yeah. And just regression in that area was bound to make this year harder for them offensively. Not so much because they won't take it away, which they aren't doing as much, by the way, but, and they had the little streak of not losing the turnover differential. But I just thought they would lose the ball more often this year, and that would make it harder to have the same offensive results, and they are. Like the games they've lost, they've given the ball away, and it's hurt them. So that puts more pressure on everything else, right? It puts more pressure on receivers to get open. You're just not going to be in as many comfortable games and comfortable situations. And so I feel like being back in April sort of put a target out, like, boy, that better work. You better be right. And what did the trade deadline teach us? That he already, whether it was he arrived at this conclusion himself or other people in the organization had an intervention with him. I mean, I don't want to exaggerate, but like, we need more. We need a guy. He went shopping. He went big game hunting at the deadline. I absolutely believe everything that I heard about what they were trying to get accomplished last Tuesday, and he didn't get anything done. I think a part of the reason he was as frustrated, bordering on angry about that last week when he spoke is because he knows. He's out there. He went out. He walked on a plank he built for himself, and now he's at the end of it. And if this doesn't come together, I think he, for the first time, is going to be more criticized than the coach, which says a lot. Because,
hard to do.
Right.
Because he's got his warts.
I think that's where we are.
I also think, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, like, I think last year lied to them a little bit.
Yeah.
And to assume that they were going to have an NFL record for most games they've won the turnover battle was not a realistic thing to lean back on. Like, you can assume, like, even if it regressed only by 10 or 15%, one-score games, a 10 or 15% regression in turnover rate is going to matter in those games. And they've lost, other than last week, one-score games that they lost the turnover battle in. So a little of it is their performance offensively last year in a season your quarterback won the MVP was bound to regress. And instead of really saying, hey, Josh Palmer's it, and this is the move you're getting on offense, they looked at it and said, hey, Josh Palmer is what you're getting on offense. We're putting all of our horses in on the defense. And to kind of leave the offense to say, my whole philosophy is they scored 30 last year, I'm good. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So I got to take him at his word. That was a flawed, at the time, I think we all thought it was flawed. But hey.
Yep. I've got them at 3 lost fumbles and 5 picks so far. So they've got 8 turnovers, which was, I believe, their entire total through 17 games last year. If you're scoring at home, we are 9 games through because you can't divide 17 evenly, so we're not halfway through, but you get the point. They've already reached their turnover total from last year, and they still have 8 games left to play. So I think that's tough. It was also, I think, foreseeable.
Yes.
Thanks for the call. 803-0550 is the number. More calls coming up. Sal at the top of the hour. He's Nate Geary, and for Mike, I'm the Bulldog, and this is WGR.
since so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
Wednesday, my show has the day off. Nate Geary is in for him. I am the Bulldog. Sal Capaccio coming up at the top of the hour. Let's fire it right back up. Alex is first up this segment. Hi, Alex. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Good afternoon, guys. So we're all us Bills fans are over here contemplating what's going on with this offense. And now that Kincaid goes down, who was our receiver number one as a tight end, you know, kind of gets me concerned heading into Tampa Bay. But I can't stop thinking about Shakir, and he's the veteran receiver with Josh Allen, has reps and chemistry, and I kept thinking about Shakir, and I looked him up, and I said he's 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. He's the same height as Amon-Ra St. Brown, same weight. He's the fastest, faster than Amon-Ra St. Brown according to the 40-yard time. Looking at Jackson Smith and Jigba, same profile, not as quick as him, but Shakir has all the physical abilities to lead this team in receiving and really be a 1,000-yard receiver, but I feel like we're not scheming him right. And in a copycat league, why aren't these guys just, hey, let's just see how Jackson Smith and Jigba and Amon-Ra St. Brown are being utilized, because they have the same physical profile as Shakir. And so I don't know what you guys are thinking, but I'm concerned about who's going to lead this team while Kincaid is gone.
I think that's a great question. I know we were talking, I think, before the show started about some, the days
Average
after a
depth of
game.
target.
Yeah, just the Shakir's his chart.
It's ugly.
And yeah, I mean,
it looks like a very physically limited player.
Yeah,
and he's not.
And I don't know. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best receivers. In this current, I don't want to say of this generation. That's a little too much. But
he's a top 5 receiver in football.
Yeah,
he's top 5.
And Jackson Smith and Jigba is
maybe the best right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So height, weight, measurables does not equate to we should be able to get that out of our guy because he's the same height and ran a faster 40 time. I think there's more that goes into it. Subtlety running routes, ability to create separation on your own. I think those things do come into the equation in a pretty pronounced way. So with that said, I mean, I'm not ready to get on board with the move Coleman into the slot thing because I don't feel like he's earned the bench almost, I think, more than he's earned getting moved to try to get him off. But I'm all for I'm a sucker. I bought stuff that would remind me of this in the summer when we're doing this together when Mike's on vacation. Please, Nate, because Shakir can play the X. He can play anywhere we want him, and so we're going to be interchangeable and very multiple. And they're multiple. I mean, they're always shuttling people in and out, but the roles that the guys are in when they are on the field seem pretty regimented to me. And Shakir is maybe right in the middle of that.
So when they had Cole Beasley, their break glass in case of emergency was the little option route against zone, and Cole just knew where to sit. He knew how to extend routes. That's why I've never really bought into the Keon Coleman in the slot thing because there's so much more nuance in your route running when you move into the slot, having to move both ways. When you're on the boundary, you have one way to move, essentially, right? Like you go towards the middle of the field. It's not a lot of room on the other side. So when you have option routes, you need to know how to read leverage. You need to know where to be, when to stop, when to stem. There's just a lot. Or, hey, you need to know that against a zone, if that first window is closed, that there might be a second window. Those are a lot of things you just don't walk off. If you haven't played the position from the slot, that's not something you just walk into.
Right. Which way I'm going to cut is predicated on where is the linebacker's rear foot right now. Which way is he ready to
And that
pounce?
stuff you rep ad nauseum.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know why Khalil Shakir couldn't run very similar routes that Cole Beasley did and just be the option route guy against zone and find those zones, because it's went from our dump off or our, hey, that's our bread and butter, went from being a 7-yard option route to being a throw behind the line of scrimmage. And it can work, and it has worked.
Yep.
But if that's all he does, again, the predictability, we can go through a lot of stuff about how predictable they are. One of them is their usage of him. He is how they want to use him, teams know how.
Yeah. Nate Geary in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog. We'll hit pause here and have Sal Capaccio join the conversation right after this as we continue on WGR.
For the Bills, as they do get back to practice, 14 names in total on the report, though just 2 players do not practice, that being Dalton Kincaid and Fedarian Mathis. 8 players were limited. Those include Christian Benford, Shaq Thompson, and Terrell Bernard. But good news, Josh Palmer, AJ Epinesa, and TJ Sanders were all full participants. And the Barnes Firm Injury Report is brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured for help, call 1-800-8-MILLION. And do stay tuned. We'll get more on the Bills, including the signing of edge rusher Morgan Fox to the practice squad, and Sal Capaccio joins the show next. Bills' opponent for this weekend, Tampa Bay, has wide receiver Chris Godwin and running back Bucky Irving listed as limited participants today at practice, albeit in a walkthrough. And then some other notes from around the NFL. Jameis Winston, he's going to get the start at quarterback for the Giants when they host Green Bay on Sunday. Jackson Dart is out with a concussion. Cardinals wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. is out at least this week after undergoing surgery for appendicitis. And Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson not at practice today due to what is being described as knee soreness. For the Sabres, it's a late night tonight. They are out in Utah. Pre-game at 8, a 9 p.m. puck drop. Colton Ellis expected to get the start in net. And we'll get more on tonight's matchup when Paul Hamilton joins the show at 6. And then over in college, a packed night tonight, especially for the University of Buffalo. UB at Central Michigan in football with kickoff at 7. That game is going to be over on the bet 15-20. The Bulls are 4-1 in conference and trail just Western Michigan in the MAC with 3 games to go. And then currently going on right now at halftime, UB women, they trail Vermont 30-19. You can hear the rest of that game over on AM 1400. And then sticking with college basketball, the Bonnies also in action tonight. They host Siena at 7. And join WGR and Bud Light for a Buffalo Football Friday happy hour. Show Bulldog will be broadcasting live this Friday the 14th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Leo's Pizzeria, 2220 Southwestern Boulevard. You'll have a chance to enter to win a Josh Allen jersey, and no purchase is necessary. You also can enjoy some other live broadcasts coming up at Mitchell's Tavern and the Draft Room. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
All right, welcome back into today's program. I am the Bulldog. Mike Schopp has the day off. Nate Geary alongside in his place today. Sal Capaccio now on the Western Hotline, and we'll just turn it over to Sal, and he will read from today's injury report, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
No doubt.
There's a lot of names. It does seem. I'm curious to hear what you think, how you feel about it. I feel like, despite the length of it, it was better news than it was on this day last week.
Yeah, listen, it's really funny you say that. I have the same feeling about it, which is there's a ton of names, but I'm actually going to look at this as actually not a bad thing because it's Wednesday and almost all of the names are limited or full. There are 2 DMPs, but you think about all the – let me count them. How many? 14? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Only 2 out of the 14 are DNPs. I think on a Wednesday that's good. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody who's limited is going to play. We have seen this before, right? Taron Johnson limited last week. Joshua Palmer limited last week. They didn't play in the game. But if I'm on a Wednesday here. Not only are these guys limited, but Bulldog, the only player on this list limited that I saw in a red non-contact was Khalil Shakir. Everybody else is out there, doing their normal stuff from the stretching we could see and dressed like, in their blue or white jerseys. So I'm going to take this as a pretty okay step right now. I'll also add this. Joshua Palmer full, really good news, obviously. TJ Sanders full, not even on the active roster yet, but that's very good news, obviously, if you want him to, come back. And then AJ Epinesa coming back from a concussion, being full is really good news.
Yeah. So what is the Shakir being limited and in non-contact on the heels of, not that Kincaid was a surprise. We knew when he left the game and was ruled out with a hamstring injury, it was probably going to be a while, and week to week is the story there. So there's no shock in seeing him as a DNP today. I feel like, though, with Palmer coming back, that's great news. Hopefully he'll be ready to go this week. But Shakir is that shakes me a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see where it goes with him. Hopefully more precautionary than anything. But if you if you are without Khalil Shakir this week, on top of being without Dalton Kincaid. Now, the good news is Joshua Palmer looks like he's on track to come back. And I'll throw Gabe Davis in here. He doesn't appear on an injury report because he's on the practice squad. But I just get this sense, by the way that McDermott talks about him, by the way that everything's been going with him, I get the sense that we're going to see Gabe Davis on Sunday. But, don't know that for sure yet, but it feels like that. But I agree. You don't want to be without Khalil Shakir. He's obviously, I would say, your most reliable wideout.
So if you are optimistic we might see Gabriel Davis this week, what does that look like if Palmer's back and Gabriel Davis is being elevated? Would you say it's like a Curtis Samuel, maybe inactive? Like what does maybe the group, if everybody's healthy, in your mind, you're looking at the depth chart, what does it look like to you?
Well, I would say this, and it's a great question because to me it's not about depth chart. It's simply just numbers and who's playing and who's not, right? So I don't know, like, who gets – because, you go by depth chart, right? Like, Keon Coleman plays more snaps than anybody,
right.
But yet Tyrell Shavers actually is on the field first before him generally, it seems like. He's on the field for a run play to start the game. But, yes, to your point, I can't see 7 wide receivers obviously active on game day. Heck, I mean, they usually – a lot of times they go with 5, and they might go with 6, but 7 – no. And then when it comes to Gabe Davis, does he get a spot on the 53? They don't have to do that yet. That could be reserved for TJ Sanders. Right now, the Bills have 52 players on their roster. Mm-hmm. They have a spot for another. To me, that's TJ Sanders. If they want by Saturday at 4 p.m., since he's been full, you already have an injury right now to Fedarian Mathis. Maybe that's something you do. There you go. So now you elevate Gabe Davis maybe from the practice squad. Where does he fit in? Good question, because are you going to activate 7 players? Now, you're not going to, so who would be the odd man out? I guess you could really theoretically do that. And then you have Mecole Hardman, by the way, we haven't talked about. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who the odd man out is. I mean, I don't think I could get as far as saying, like, with everything surrounding all this talk about Keon Coleman, they wouldn't actually do that right at that point. I don't think so.
Like bench him, you mean?
Right. You know what I mean? Or, make him inactive. But I do think, though, that to me, it's always felt like Gabe is more of a Keon, style replacement, right? Style replacement. It doesn't mean it has to be 1 for 1. But I think just by the way they've handled everything, it would most likely be Samuel or Moore. I don't think it'd be Shavers because he plays special teams, but it certainly could be, obviously.
Yeah, I feel like when Gabe first returned to practice, we talked all this through, and I'm going to land in the same spot. It's Moore or Samuel if I'm pulling one guy out. The question from there, because that's a curiosity, but the bigger question is what role does Gabe Davis walk into first time being active? Is he playing, 20% of the snaps? Is he playing 50, 60, like whatever? Is he sharing time with Keon Coleman? Because I guess I would agree. I'd be, I don't know if I want to say stunned, at least very surprised if Coleman got pushed out because of Gabe Davis being here, but maybe they do a little bit, not that either guy's a rookie, but maybe it's a timeshare, sort of like Tre'Davious White and Maxwell Hairston at outside corner has been when both guys were healthy, and with Benford was healthy. Of course, there was a different situation on Sunday in Miami. But yeah, Davis is playing that role, right? I mean, that's what he is. Yeah. He's outside X. That's why they drafted Coleman, was to replace that on the roster.
I think so. That's right. That's what it feels like to me. And what's wild about all this is, and we talked about this before, but if you look at the snap counts for this team, like of all the stuff that's surrounding Keon Coleman, and yet here he is,
every week,
highest percentage of snap counts.
Yep.
71%. 71. And like to put that in context, the next closest guy is Khalil Shakir at 60. Right? And then beyond that, I think it's Tyrell Shavers because guys have just been injured. I mean, you think about that, and it could be also out of necessity because of injury and things like that. Joshua Palmer obviously hasn't been on the field. I mean, Joshua Palmer's the guy that, you want to – I think he's the guy that you think that can take on more of this load, play the X spot, be the outside guy. He's going to help your passing game. But I just wonder where they are with Keon and think about the fact that, well, they're still using him a lot, even though we talk about these things that McDermott answers for and – talks about the effort and all those kinds of things we talk about. And then you have Gabe Davis, who seems like he's kind of the replacement for him, per se. So I think it's an interesting spot, and I don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to go forward. But I do think as I sit here now that I feel like Gabe Davis is going to play on Sunday, just kind of the way that things have been trending this way.
So let me ask you this, because Sean McDermott, I think the quote was something like they're still trying to find their best combinations, right, at wide receiver, like who should be out there. I've kind of said this year more maybe than last year, Sal, is like it seems like the everybody eats thing has almost gone too far as an extreme. Because it feels to me that it has to be hard for a quarterback if you don't have a lot of continuity with the guys that are out on the field, and when you are constantly subbing in receivers who aren't really getting enough time to make impacts. I think of Elijah Moore in this. He just doesn't really play a lot. He made that big catch against the Chiefs on that corner route. I just wonder, is part of the solution, maybe just in your mind, less variation and leaning more into guys that maybe could get a little bit more of a rhythm while they're out there?
I don't know. I mean, you're trying to figure out a puzzle, right? I guess, Nate, right? It's a puzzle, and where does each piece fit properly? I don't think the Bills want to have some sort of philosophical shift to go away from what they have been built on, which is a really strong running game.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that everybody is out there and a lot of people going, and me included here, which is, come on, like you have Josh Allen throw the ball. I get it. They're simply not built that way right now, though, right? That's not the way they've been built, and it's not their strength. Their strength is, and it sucks to say it that way, but their strength is running the football with James Cook. So they have players who have certain skill sets that they want on the field for running routes, for running the ball and blocking and running routes and catching passes. And I think that that's kind of what they want to do. I can't see some overarching philosophical switch of saying, I want to have these guys out in the field to spread it over and start running the run and shoot. I'm just using an extreme example of how you're saying it, right? I don't think that's what they want to do. So fitting that puzzle together, I think is tricky. And I think that that's what they're trying to do. And that's why you see not only Gabe Davis possibly playing, but Mecole Hardman now, who comes in and says, okay, well, I mean, he's not a guy you're going to put on the field to block a lot, right? It's not he's not the biggest dude in the world. He's super fast. You want him to run down the field. But I think that they're going to want to use him probably in that role, but also know that, hey, when he's on the field, other teams probably know we're not really, running the ball as much, or because another guy in the field, you don't know what is coming at you. And that's kind of the rub of how they're trying to do things.
Yeah, I wonder, Sal, with mixed into all of this, is the comfort of the guy that has been the most reliable, even though he's not on the field as often as a lot of us would like. I don't know, maybe part of the reason is what happened on Sunday in Miami. Dalton Kincaid hurt his hamstring and is out multiple weeks, it looks like, or week to week is how they're terming it. That's been as close to an easy button as they've had, other than like the tunnel screens, say, to Shakir. It's been Kincaid over the middle, and now that's gone. And so I wonder just how inventive they can get within the construct of their playbook and their personnel to try to find. It's a hell of a time to lose the one guy in their passing game that they could count on. I'm going a long way to say that.
Yeah.
Because it feels like they're in somewhat of a crisis passing game-wise. They got to get the quarterback back to trusting what he's seeing and taking the throws that are there, and he's probably pressing, and just there's a lot that's going wrong right now. I just wonder how much work they can do to sort of find something that they can lean on with a game coming up on Sunday.
I agree with that. And, I think that if you look at, let's just say, like they could, if they wanted to, they could elevate Kaleki Latu, right? And he's more of a pass-catching type of tight end. But, I mean, how much is he really going to take any snaps away from anybody who's on the field? So you don't have that guy. You don't have that true pass-catching tight end. Now, I think Jackson Hawes has been a nice little addition here. He's been a nice option, to be able to run some routes, but he's not really beating people one-on-one across the middle, and some of the things you saw that Dalton Kincaid did against the Miami Dolphins. So what is the answer? Do you move guys? Does Keon Coleman start to play a little bit more in the slot? Do you try to create a little bit more of that because you want to control more of the middle of the field, because that's where Dalton Kincaid worked a lot? I'm not really sure. It is tough. It's a tough question. I don't know. It's a puzzle, like I said. We'll see where it goes. I did ask Mecole Hardman today because I want to get a feel for this whole equation as well. I did ask him, like, where do you normally play? Where do you feel most comfortable playing? And he said he's been mainly a slot guy, but he can be used outside. He doesn't mind lining up outside in order to basically, get one-on-one coverage and use his, in cuts and out cuts and things like that. But It's where are the snaps there if he's going to be in the slot too? Now I'm thinking, right? I don't really know. He's not an X, but you can try and line him up. But I just thought that was interesting too that he said that.
Right, great. Another guy that might function best in the slot. That seems like a tough ad right now. Sal Capaccio, excuse me, on the Western Hotline with us for a couple of more minutes here. I would think Hardman gets a look just for returns. Their return game has been really non-existent.
Yeah, I agree with you. And a stat I ran across the other day, I don't know if we've talked since then. Maybe I did, Bulldog, with you. I'm not really sure on Monday. But a stat I ran across the other day when I found out and we were told and we read, I should say, that he was going to sign to the practice squad. I went and did some numbers and digging. And you guys know, I mean, I'm a Brandon Codrington fan for his skill set. I think he's really good at what he does. But the reality is he hasn't been really good at what he does this year, right? And that's why he has been inactive to me, is because he has not done enough to justify having a guy on the roster that can't play defense or offense.
Right.
If you're going to be just a returner, you got to be exceptional at what you do. And I thought he might have provided enough for this team to be able to do that. That hasn't been the case. So he becomes inactive. You put Khalil Shakir out there, who's a fine decision maker, and he actually has some juice in the return game once in a while, but he's also your main wide receiver. So you bring McCole Hardman in, and he has way more returns in his career than anybody on the roster, close to 90 NFL punt returns. He's 9.2 yards a return, which is the 11th best of active players. But the stat that really stunned me was the Bills are the second worst team in the NFL as far as average starting drive field position. Second worst. What's even more wild is the worst is the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champions, right? They're worse than the Bills at number 2, but the Bills still, on top of that, even though that's the case, they're still the 6th or 7th best scoring offense in the NFL. If you can give them just a little better starting field position, I think it could go a long way. And I'm just talking a few more yards because that matters when you look at the graphic, right? And maybe that's where, and I agree with you, maybe that's where Hardman just goes and says, you do this. And then once in a while, maybe he can kind of get in on. But I do think that maybe he's here just for that, because that's become a bit of a big deal now this year.
And I wonder too, Sale, how much longer they can keep Ray Davis back there. I mean, he's been the guy getting the majority of the returns. There's been a couple of sprinkled in from Ty Johnson. I've seen less of him and more of Curtis Samuel, a couple from him. They've been experimenting with the guy next to Ray Davis. But Ray Davis has sort of been the mainstay in the return game, in the kick return game anyways. And I just, he feels more like the north-south runner. He doesn't have that, real great top-end speed. He's not giving him a lot there in the return game.
Yeah, I think, though, if you're going to have him active, he's got to do that, right? And what's the alternative of not having him active? Having 2 running backs? You can't do that, right? Can you go to a game with just 2 running backs? So if you're going to have Ray Davis active, which I think you need because you need the 3 running backs active, then you want him to contribute in some way to take a little load off somebody else, right? I mean, you don't have to do it that way. But the other guy here, Nate, that you could talk about is Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel can return kicks. He's done it. But, and in fact, Joe Brady, I think it was, or maybe Sean McDermott, one of them a few weeks ago, basically said, if he can show he can handle return game, that would give him an opportunity to be a little more active. Remember when he was inactive for a couple of weeks, right? That was kind of the thought of it, too. So I agree with you. Now, there are 2 returners in the kick return game, and honestly, the return team doesn't generally get to choose who returns it. It's the kicking team. It's the team kicking it to you because they're going to kick it to one guy or the other.
Right. The numbers on kick returns, by the way, on the year, Condrington has 14 before he got benched. So he was the chief, the guy that was getting the ball when he was active. He's only played 4 games. But Samuel in 5 games has 8. Davis and Ty Johnson each have 7. They both obviously have played all the games because they're the only other 2 running backs on the roster. But I feel like Davis has maybe recently gotten more of the returns last couple games, and that's why that number is where it is.
And by the way, can I add, if you're going to
go ahead,
as far as average is concerned, Codrington is still the highest average guy, and then it's Curtis Samuel, and then Ray Davis, and then Ty Johnson.
Right.
And actually Ty Johnson has a pretty low average considering the rest. He's only at a 21-yard average, whereas Davis, Samuel, and Codrington are all over 25.
What can you tell us about Morgan Fox, the defensive end the Bills signed to the practice squad today?
Yeah, I didn't realize till today he went to a Division II school, by the way, in college. Because when I asked him, so what we do is I get these guys to do their name and position in school for the radio lineups for if they're ever a starter. Hey, let's meet the starting lineup. And I said, hey, can you do that for me? And I said, Colorado State, right? He said, well, CSU Pueblo. And I go, oh, what's the difference? He said, Division II. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that he was a smaller college guy. But, it's weird to me. A guy that has had 15 and a half sacks over the last 3 years has been without a job here for the last little while. He's put up some decent numbers. And I think he is the same style / role of what we talk about this a lot, Bulldog. When they lost Michael Hoyt, they need that guy. They need a guy. Could it be Javon Solomon? I'm not sure. He's more of an edge guy, but he was playing that move inside, move outside. That's what they need, especially without Ed Oliver. They need somebody who can provide pass rush from the interior. This guy is a defensive end by trade, but he also can play defensive tackle. Like he can do these things. He is the flex option you have up front. And to be honest, by the way, 6'3", 275, right? He's got that body type. He can kind of do a lot of different things there that you want to see. He's not too big. He's not too small. So it's funny, thinking about this and these guys and how they want to formulate, their roster together. And I'm thinking about Morgan Fox and, coming in and how he can be like a Michael Hoyt. And then I thought, well, how does he not have a job? And maybe the answer is exactly what I said. Maybe it's because teams didn't know where to fit him. You know what I mean? Like sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's like, yeah, he has these really multiple skill sets, but he doesn't have this one thing we really like. And we need a DT. He's not a DT. We need a defensive end. He's not a defensive end. The Bills have actually been searching for a guy who can do a little bit of everything here. And as much as position flexibility helps you, it also hurts you sometimes. Remember we had this debate with Ryan Bates a lot of times.
Yeah.
Ryan Bates was really good when he played center or really good when he played guard. But his true value lied in the fact that he could just kind of play all over the place, and then every week you just kind of let him know that you can go in at any point at any time, but we're not going to start you at anywhere specifically.
Yeah. Well, you and Nate are on the same page because we've not, I think off the air, I mentioned Morgan Fox to him, and he said, it looks to me like he was playing the Hoyt role before Hoyt was on the Rams.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So hopefully that's a plug and play opportunity too. But again, just to the practice squad, we'll see what they do ultimately with the roster with all these, because you only have so many of these elevations per week, right? We're talking about Hardman here, we're talking about Gabe Davis here, and we're talking about Morgan Fox here as all candidates to like maybe have a role on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see how it all shakes out. It might be a little too ambitious for some of these guys too, right? I don't know if Morgan Fox is going to be able to play right away. I mean, to play that role on the Bills defense is going to probably require a little bit more film study and game plan and prep. I mean, the guy just got here, right? So, same thing with Mecole Hardman, although you could just tell him go return punts. You could do that. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes. And obviously the injuries they have right now will kind of dictate where it all goes for them. And then real quick on the Buccaneers side, so everybody knows, Bucky Irving returned to practice today. He was limited. I did read what Todd Bowles said, which is they still want him to get he still has to take a hit on his shoulder, and they only did a walkthrough today. So I don't know if that's trending towards him playing or not. It feels like he might be still a week away, but he's a good running back, and they've missed him for a while. But not sure if they're going to want to bring him up here into the colder weather in Buffalo for his first action, on that shoulder.
I wanted to ask you, Sal, too, right before you get off here. Landon Jackson, obviously losing him last week early in the game, like I'm not that anyone was going to ask like how disappointing, and of course it's really disappointing, but like 4 defensive ends, it just felt like a game he was going to be playing a ton in. And who knows, with AJ Epinesa coming back from the concussion and just all the injuries, like it just feels like that one in particular with the struggles early and the lack of experience and not getting on the field, that one felt to me more disappointing than a lot of these other injuries, which they all are. But that one felt like he's finally got this opportunity. Let's see what he does with it. And, it just didn't last very long in that game.
Yeah, from that standpoint, for sure, Nate. I mean, he hasn't been super productive when he's played, and you hope that at that point he's going to get enough opportunity where he starts to become more productive. I don't even know. Like we don't know if he would have done enough to even justify being active going forward, right? So we'll see. Andre Jones, a guy they've had on the practice squad as well. They have not given him any elevations. I think Keontae Jenkins is a linebacker they really like who can be a little flexible. They do have other options internally, but they're all a little bit different here. And then I agree with you as far as Jackson is concerned, just that edge setter. He would have been nice to have in that role, see what he could do. But, yeah, disappointing from a fact of young player, developing, getting an opportunity, not going to help the team. So yeah, that really stinks for him.
Sal, do you find out at the end of last night's Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame ceremony and dinner who won the Sal Capaccio experience?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it's a it was a gentleman named Steve who bought it, and I won't reveal his name overall,
right.
but
All right.
you know, it's great. And yeah, that's a nice dinner that we'll go to, and we thank Elios for donating that. It's pretty cool. And to be honest with you, he actually won it 2 years in a row. He had such a good time last year.
Oh, look at this! Wow. He goes in there looking for that. That is.
I wouldn't say won it. He outbid.
Right.
You guys better get there on a flight night, though, because that's probably the best thing no one knows about is they do flights of all their pasta and raviolis and chicken wings on Wednesday nights. You just go and you can order. Yeah, Bulldog's face. You can't see it, I don't think, Sal, but like that. I do that probably once a month there. It's awesome.
Well, listen, this is it's basically a bid on to have dinner with me and like 4 other people, and we squeeze in a couple more people. But my wife Yana, she comes, and we had a great time. We did it last year, and he bid on that and did it. The other thing that happened last night, I don't know if I told you, I haven't told you this, but so we bought tickets last night for the raffle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Raffle these big ticket items, and we found out we won something. Like, oh, they're like, well, we'll let you know. We have to go through it first. So at the end of the night, I'm like, what did I win? Happened to win a signed Matthew Barnaby jersey last night. I'm like, all right, there you go. And there's a lot of other things, but so I went home with a signed Matthew Barnaby jersey.
All right, good deal. Well, good on you for having that.
Throw on YouTube, show some Barnaby videos to Max. And,
that'll work. Yeah.
Well, that was it. I came home last night. I showed Max, and he's like, who is he?
Oh, you're
I said, do you remember the
buddy.
video I showed you where the guy laid on the ice and got up and started pummeling the goaltender? He said, oh, yeah. I said, that's the guy.
That's the guy. Okay. Right. All right. Well, good on you for making yourself available for that. I didn't know you had done that last year. I just happened to see that I was walking around looking at the auction stuff, and I'm like, Sal Capaccio experience. Look at this. Anyway, good deal, and good seeing you and Yana last night. Thanks, Sal. We kept you long. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, guys, thanks.
That's our Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? We'll get back into some phone calls here. 803-0550 is the number. Your overall, I don't know, state of confidence. Are you in a crisis? Are you like
check your pulse? Is
blip on the radar?
Is it quick?
Whatever. How are you feeling about the Bills as they head into a Week 11 meeting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday out at Highmark Stadium? Again, he's Nate Geary, and for Mike, I'm the Bulldog, and this is WGR.
Lengthy injury report today for the Buffalo Bills. They get back to practice. 14 names in total on the report. However, just 2 players did not practice today, those being Dalton Kincaid and Fedarian Mathis. 8 players were also limited. That does include Christian Benford, Shaq Thompson, and Terrell Bernard, while Josh Palmer, AJ Epinesa, and TJ Sanders were all full participants. And the Barnes from Injury Report is brought to you by the Barnes from Injured for Help. Call 1-800-8-MILLION. The Bills' opponent for this weekend, Tampa Bay. Wide receiver Chris Godwin and running back Bucky Irving were listed as limited participants today, albeit in a walkthrough. And then a late night for the Sabres. They are out in Utah. Pregame at 9 p.m. puck drop. Colton Ellis is expected to get the start in net, and we'll get more on tonight when Paul Hamilton joins the show in just about a half hour at 6 p.m. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Here's my thing with Sean McDermott. Something's always leaking, and it takes him an entire offseason to figure it out. You don't have an offseason. You're wasting Josh Allen's prime. The running game took years to solve. Now the passing game, I have to wait until next year to solve it? Buffalo has been mostly healthy, schedule 3rd easiest in the league, and yet they have 1 win over a team with a winning record. So in their 3 losses, they've averaged 15 points. With Josh Allen and James Cook, how is that possible?
He says it that way.
Do I need to be the guy to point out the one thing that is like wildly, grossly, incredibly inaccurate within that? The mostly healthy?
Yeah. He's watching.
No.
But the fifth, I didn't. Yeah, that felt like a little bit of a twist of the knife that they've averaged 15 points in their losses.
Yeah. That's the thing, man.
Jeez.
We're like sort of, fighters return to your corners, right? And then we come back out, and it's like the defense, all these yards and points the Chiefs put on them in the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. I'm over here like, yeah, but I've got the ball like midfield or better with 2 minutes to go, and a touchdown wins the game, and like I'll take that 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, you're supposed to take it.
Right.
Yeah.
So these losses this year, like, yeah, I know Bijan Robinson lit them up in the first half. They gave them 24 points and scored 14 and lost. Like, tell me about the defense again.
Mm-hmm.
They lost 23-20 to New England.
Achane had 80 yards.
Right. This game was 16-0 for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
So, yes, sure. Is there some blame? Is the defense good even? No. But their offense has sunk them in their losses. I don't even think it's close.
I'm not here to tell you, like, I'm expecting, I even tweeted this after the game. I'm like, thank God this isn't one of those weeks where we all have to infight about who's really to blame for the loss. Is it the defense? Is it the offense?
Yeah.
And we can't really get everybody just to agree on what. I think everybody left that game and said, what the bleep is going on with this offense?
Right.
And again, not to say that, like, Achane's one of now 3 backs who have had career days against this Bills defense. That's not nothing. But they did fine against him for 80% of that game. 6 minutes left. He breaks off. He doubles his yardage output with 6 minutes left in that game. And why? Because the defense has been on the field the entire friggin' game because you're punting and turning the football over.
Right. 803-0550 is the number. Thanks for Colin Cowherd. Brian is first up this segment. Hi, Brian. Thanks for calling. You're on the air.
Hey, guys. Nice to see you, Nate. I'd like to pick your brain. Maybe 3 to 4 things we can actually do to, like, fix this offense. Not that we haven't been talking about it, but I'm listening to Sean McDermott both times this week, and it is a lot of just we're going to go back to the tape. We're going to get really good at what we get good at. We believe in what's in the house, And so to me, it's like, I guess then as a fan, I just have to believe it when I see it then. Like, I'll have to just believe when they actually start pulling Keon Coleman off the field, like, oh, that actually did happen. And like, oh, Josh Palmer is going to play more than 43% of the snaps when he's fully available. Like, can he get on the field and then stay on the field? Because he's the only intermediate wide receiver that we have that actually completes catches. Something like, I'd like to see, like, the offense change a little bit for, like, the better. Maybe we don't have to run the play clock down to dead zero every single play. Maybe we can play a little tempo. Like, that is not against the rules. Can we get a couple spread formations, a play, and this is going to be a specific play, but back to the Saints game, 3rd and 5, opening drive. Watch Curtis Samuel. They run a spread. He's far left, all the way off. And he runs a great jerk route, burns the corner, easy first down. Allen got rid of the ball quickly. They got to the line quickly. He gets rid of the ball quickly. He's got the protection set up. Is there any kind of variation than what we have now, which is this, everyone has a defined silo that they stay in, and everyone has the route, and I repeated this on another phone call, so I won't repeat it here. We all know what the routes are. Is there any diversity of routes in this offense? And to the other caller's point, maybe you can't replicate Amon-Ra St. Brown, but you sure as hell better be studying that tape. Like, you should be reviewing that tape. Like, how the heck do they get these guys that far open, which is a great point.
It's so funny that he came up. I didn't mention this earlier, but my wife was getting ready to go to work. I did post-game from the attic. I work at home on Sundays, and I come downstairs at, 6 o'clock. I'm done. She's putting her shoes on, getting ready to go to the hospital for her 13-hour shift, and the Lion game is on. Who was that? Lions, Washington, whatever 425 was on Sunday. And the Lion game is on. And I walked downstairs, and she said, "How'd it go?" It actually went pretty well. I'm surprisingly, I'm not in a terrible mood after post game. And she's like, "What was wrong with the game?" I'm like, and right as she asked me that, she's looking at the TV, and Jared Goff takes a 3-step drop and throws like an 11-yard slant to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I said, "Did you see that? We can't do that. Yeah. I don't know why we can't do that, but we can't. The Bills can't seem to do that." And she said, "That didn't look that hard." I'm like, "I know.
It's kind of the point.
It didn't look that hard. That's it. That's it right there." So I don't know, to the caller's point, like, what can they do? But I think the most, or like, what will they do? I think the most interesting part of this week is what they lean on other than Tampa Bay is one of the best run defenses in the league. If you go into the game expecting that to be tough, and it is tough, and you have to throw early, you got to throw on first downs. Oh my God, be still my beating heart. What does it look like, right? Schematically, what roles are guys in? Like, how much? I've asked everybody we've talked to today. I don't think I'll ask Paul this question because he's in Utah to cover a hockey game tonight. I'll talk to him in about 20 minutes. But how radical can they get within the confines of a few days here to try to find something that can work for them? Because I think reinvention is probably off the table. But
yeah, I would agree with that.
They got to find at least a reasonably large pivot.
I have said this, and I don't know how you, and part of this is the conversation of why you draft a tight end that can't play in line. So he's only playing 33% of the snaps. But I don't think their good players are on the field enough. I think that's a big problem, and I just don't know of. I played football for a long time. I watched a lot of football, and I don't know that I know of another time another NFL team had this type of scenario where there's not a hierarchy of a depth chart. Like, even me asking Sal, hey, what's a depth chart? Like, well, it's not really a depth chart. Well, why isn't it a depth chart? Right. Like, you make a depth chart because you say this is the best guy, this is the second best guy, and the third best guy. That's a depth chart. And they're all like, everybody eats. And you're like, yeah, but who's really good? Because that guy should be on the field more. And I think, for me, Elijah Moore, I just wonder if you were to ask these guys candidly, hey, they're no longer with the Bills. How was it like playing where it's like, hey, I got 3 packages that I'm in, but I kind of feel like I might be the second best receiver here, and I'm very limited to what I'm doing when I feel like I'd be giving more. I'm sure it's frustrating. For veterans, I'm sure whenever Curtis Samuel leaves, which is probably next offseason, someone in his new team's going to ask him, what happened? He's going to be like, I don't know. I just didn't play. I mean, I just wasn't on the field.
Right.
And I ran 3 routes in 3 packages. And Benjamin Solak had a great segment on his podcast with Mina Kimes last week talking about how, this was before, I think was it before? Yeah, it was before the Dolphins game. But basically says, if I were the Bills, I would just lean into 13 personnel being my base package and that's how we're going to throw the footballs out of 13. And you know that the Bills aren't even the top team to run 13 personnel in the league right now? I think they're second or third in usage. You know what number 1 is? It would be a team that you would not guess is the number 1 usage of 13 personnel in football.
Just tell me. I don't.
The Rams.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that alluded to.
You wouldn't think that. Now, don't get me wrong. San Francisco's defensive line, like, you're probably an injury or two away from catching a phone call to go play D-line for the 49ers. Watching them run 13 last week where Stafford, they're moving the pocket. He's rolling out right, rolling out left. I mean, just all of the time in the world. He's got 3 tight ends on the field. Go watch some of what McVay's doing and then apply it there. I'm not of the mind that they should just run 3 tight ends all the time because I like Jackson Hawes, but I don't know that he should be out there as much as he is. But because of how specialized your players are, you've become predictable. Yeah. When Jackson Hawes is on the field, they're running the ball mostly. When Kincaid's on the field, they're passing. When he's off, they're running. Like, it just has become very predictable.
Right. Well,
I just want to see my good players play more.
Yeah, now no Kincaid, so that's the big part of, like, what is the pivot here?
Shakir should be at 80 or 90%. Yeah. When it was Diggs, Davis, and Cole Beasley. That's who it was. They were out there because they're the best 3 receivers.
Right.
And then Emmanuel Sanders would sprinkle in. And, Isaiah McKenzie would sprinkle in. But there wasn't like this, like no level of high. It was just like redistribution of wealth. It's just like, give me just the good players and then we'll figure out the rest for the bad ones.
Yeah, the idea that Elijah Moore was going to be freed coming here to play with a good quarterback for the first time is that plane never got in the air.
Nope.
At least it hasn't yet. Still, 8 games to go. Nate Geary in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog. This is WGR. Cool to have you hanging with us here on a Wednesday. Nate Geary in for Mike Schopp. I am the Bulldog. Paul Hamilton coming up at the top of the hour. I wanted to have something really, really, really solid left here for you for the couple of minutes because you're going to split, and I'm going to talk to Paul by myself. And I don't know. I don't quite have it. What is your synopsis for the day here? Do you feel good? You feel like you were heard today?
Yeah. No. Sometimes you just need a platform to yell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we facilitated that.
Yeah, we did
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got some stuff done.
Yeah. You got a bet right now on them winning the division or being a wild card team.
Okay.
What are you betting? I mean, the odds depend on it.
Sure.
Right. I mean,
if I'm getting really good odds for the division, like the ones, or
they're plus money now for the first time in a long time.
I mean, if it's like plus 200, probably I'm just going to take the wild card. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's the same odds. Wild card.
Yeah.
Wild card.
I still, I know the 1 seed feels like, it's almost unattainable. The Bills are plus 200 right now to win the division. New England is minus 250. The thing that I guess I'm going to hang on to for at least a couple of more weeks is Daniel Jones. And the Patriots are not some super team. They're not the Chiefs from last year that are just going to find a way to just win every game. They're not. I know it's gone really well, and May looks great, and he makes so many good throws. But to me, they could lose to anybody at this point still.
I would say, too, I kind of felt, I just Googled this just to know how many wildcard teams have made it to a Super Bowl, and there's not that many. But if it makes you feeling better, the 92 Bills were a wild card team and went to a Super Bowl.
The Giants, I think both times they
won.
I know the 1 year for sure.
They're one against the Patriots. Yeah, 2007 they won.
They're both
Green
Patriots.
Bay's Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they were a wild card, and Tom Brady's Super Bowl in Tampa. Wild card team. So, don't sleep on the wild card.
Nope.
It'll be listen. Aaron Quinn talks about this all the time. It's like, if they win, it's gonna be when nobody thinks it. It's gonna be fluky. Mm-hmm. There'll be the 7 seed, and that's when they'll win, because that's just how the NFL works.
I hope that's right.
Me too.
All right. Let's hit the break here. Paul Hamilton will join me from Utah on the other side of this. Nate, thank you for being here for this today. Appreciate it very much. Always nice to have you by my side here. Timeout at hand, and then we'll shift gears into some hockey with Paul right after this. I am the Bulldog. This is WGR.
It was a lengthy injury report today for the Buffalo Bills as they got back to practice. 14 names in total, but just 2 players did not practice, Dalton Kincaid and Fedarian Mathis. 8 players were limited. That includes Christian Benford, Shaq Thompson, and Terrell Bernard, while Josh Palmer, AJ Epinesa, and TJ Sanders were all full participants. And the Barnes Firm Injury Report, it is brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured for help, call 1-800-8-MILLION. For the Bills' opponent, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, wide receiver Chris Godwin and running back Bucky Irving were both listed as limited participants, albeit in a walkthrough. Some other notes in the NFL. Jameis Winston will get the start at quarterback for the Giants when they host Green Bay on Sunday. Jackson Dart is out with a concussion. Cardinals wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. is out at least this week after undergoing surgery for appendicitis. And Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson out at practice today with what is being described as knee soreness. To the Sabres, it is a late night for them. They are out in Utah. Pre-game at 8 for a 9 p.m. puck drop. All signs are pointing to Colton Ellis is getting the start in net tonight, but we'll get more on this matchup. Paul Hamilton does join the show next. And then in college, Maction, UB football. They are at Central Michigan, kickoff at 7 p.m. That game's going to be over on the Bet 1520. The Bulls are 4-1 in the conference. They trail just Western Michigan in the MAC with 3 games to go. And then UB women, they do fall to Vermont. And the Bonnies, they are in action tonight. They are hosting Siena at 7. And join WGR and Bud Light for a Buffalo Football Friday happy hour. Schopp and Bulldog, they're going to be broadcasting live this Friday, the 14th, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Leo's Pizzeria, 2220 Southwestern Boulevard. You will have your chance to win and enter for a Josh Allen jersey. No purchase necessary. Enjoy other live broadcasts also coming up at Mitchell's Tavern and the Draft Room. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly, 21 plus. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet, celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
All right, it's been a minute here since we've had a chance to visit with Paul Hamilton. The way things go. Sabres played Tuesday and Thursday last week. Friday was Football Friday, and then the Bills lost to Miami on Sunday, and the world's been burning since, really. And so we haven't had a chance to catch up with Paul, and the Sabres hadn't played until tonight. So they're back on our radar, and Paul Hamilton now joins me live from Utah on the West Her Hotline, where the Sabres will play the Mammoth, who they just lost to, I believe, in overtime last Tuesday. So pretty quick turnaround for the home and home with their Western Conference foes here. Paul, I might want to lead off, though, asking you how your travel to Utah went. Did you manage to get out there without any problems? Because I think Friday was a mess for you, if I remember right.
Yeah, you're right. It was. But no, it went very well. So I was very happy with that. It was a long flight from Baltimore to Salt Lake, and it's about almost 5 hours. But, but as far as being on time and airports and everything, they made me check my suit bag, which they've never done before. That's a first, which made me miss practice because I had to wait baggage claim, which I was planning on just bolting right out of the airport and over to the practice, but baggage claim ruined that. But other than that, it was fine.
All right, good to hear. How is you? This is the first time there, right? For
yes.
You? Mm-hmm. I guess I can't ask you yet what the rink is like because you missed practice.
That was the practice rink.
Morning
and I was
skate.
at the Delta Center, the morning skate.
Okay.
I'm actually looking at the Delta Center right now. I can see it right out my hotel window. It's right across the street. So, so I was in there for the morning skate. The thing is, because it's a basketball arena, there really isn't a press box. So I was kind of walking around where the writers are, and then there's another place where the TV people are, and then there's another place where the radio people are. So, but my seat's actually not too bad. I'm right at center ice where the radio people are.
How much of a hockey town? Can you get a feel for that? You've been there for a day now. Does it feel like it's because I mean you've traveled everywhere here that the Sabres have played over the years, and not all places are like hockey hotbeds. I guess I'd want to say. Do you have an opinion yet on Utah, or is it still too soon?
Yeah, this is the only arena I haven't been to. The thing that really, really surprised me, Bulldog, was there's nothing around here. There's an arena here, and I'm looking for a restaurant or I'm looking for anything. I couldn't even find a Subway for lunch. I mean, it's just like nothing around here except a sports bar. That was it. It's like, all right, I guess I'm eating at the sports bar yesterday. It was like, okay, it's not the first time I've eaten in a sports bar. I'll live, but it was fine. But I'm just was very, very surprised with an arena here, how little is down here. There's like a IMAX theater. There's a venue where concerts are held. I think it's an old train terminal. But walking around, there's really just nothing as it comes, Now, maybe in other parts of the city, but I just was very surprised by that, having an arena here with just nothing around it.
Right, and of course, the arena's been home to the Utah Jazz for many, many years, so it's not like it's new just because the hockey team showed up, right? So that maybe, I guess I would say I am surprised by that. Well, I'm, just to end this little bit of the conversation, I'm curious to see how this goes out there. The ownership seems very young, proactive, energetic, and we'll see if they can really get a foothold there. But it seems like it's going pretty well. Like they're off to a pretty nice start this year, this team.
Well, we know J.J. Paterka's happy. He had a mic on, and he said at the opening face-off with Alex Tuck, they treat us unbelievably. All right, they dropped the puck. Let's go.
Yeah, nice to hear
that.
Well,
recently this hockey team has lost 5 out of 6. Bulldog, do you realize right now, in this season, no team has hurt the Buffalo Sabres more than the Utah Mammoth. Not only did they beat the Buffalo Sabres 2-1, they have lost 5 out of 6 games. 4 of those losses have come to the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Ottawa Senators, and the Montreal Canadiens. 4 out of those 5 losses have come to those teams that are around the Sabres. So they have handed 2 points to the people that the Sabres are with.
Right.
And the Sabres, as you mentioned, 2-1 loss.
Right. Too bad. That's tough. You know what else?
No team. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, what stands out, I remember when you joined me last Tuesday before the Sabres and Mammoth played in Buffalo, I mentioned how the standings, I think there were 11 teams going into play that night. This is last Tuesday now, in the Eastern Conference, had either 13 or 14 points at that time. 11. Right now, there is 1 team in the Eastern Conference left that still only has 14 points. Of course, it's the Sabres. They got that loser point in that game, and then they've lost the last 2, shut out by St. Louis.
They have 1 win in 7, and
yeah.
I keep saying this, and people are tired of hearing it. This is the early season swoon that seems to happen every year. Here is their test. Their test is right now. They are won 1 out of 7. They have some loser points in there. They have lost 3 in a row, and they have 3 coming up back-to-back, Utah and Denver. Good luck with that, boys, because they now have the worst record in the Eastern Conference. They are now 4 points out of a playoff spot. Go lose 3 more. By Sunday, they will have flamethrown their season again. If they lose those 3 games, they're done.
Well,
because they probably are going to be 6-7 points out of the playoffs and having to leapfrog 8 teams again.
Yeah.
And you just are not going to get by 7 or 8 teams being that far behind. You're just not.
Yeah.
So here we are in November. This is a must win. They have to go out and win this hockey game. They have to. Because, as I said, their season could be over by the weekend if they don't.
Yeah, I am with you. I thought going into the trip, including the Carolina game, like if they can find their way to 2 wins on this trip, it's a very tough trip. Carolina, they never win in Carolina, and that, of course, held true on Saturday night. Utah, at least they're skidding now. They had been, just last week, they were going pretty well. Colorado, holy cow, I watched the first period of their game with Anaheim last night. I mean, boy, 2 teams that were just up and down the ice there. Anaheim's having a crazy good start to the year, but they were outmatched by Colorado quite badly in that game. And then Detroit has cooled off a little. and that's Saturday. Now I think, Paul, they're at win 2 of the 3. And I think that's a really heavy lift, especially I know the Sabres do not. Their fans at this point do not feel a lot of sympathy for them, for the situations they find themselves in. But some of what has befallen them here recently, I think, is almost calamitous. I mean, Zucker doesn't just have the flu. He hasn't eaten solid food in 9 days. I mean, holy cow, Paul. I spent 10 days in the hospital 2 summers ago, and I didn't eat the whole time. I lost 20 pounds of muscle. And I'm not a pro athlete, so I mean, hopefully there's but holy cow, to have Zucker down for that long, good luck. I mean, I'm sure nutrition for him as a pro athlete is a different thing than it was for me at Buffalo General, but still, that is a long time to be down with that kind of an illness. And now we've got, blood clots with Kulik? I mean, holy cow, Paul. It just feels like the worst of the worst luck-wise right now for them.
It is, and it is legitimate. It's not an excuse, it is an excuse, rather. It is legitimate. But I also say, too, the Florida Panthers have built a good enough team with depth that they're surviving without their top 2 people, their captain, Barkov, and without Matthew Tkachuk. Ottawa, look where they are. Brady Tkachuk's not playing, and Batherson didn't play for a while to start the season. Mm-hmm. They're surviving. And I know there's a lot of players that the Sabres have had out, but the Sabres, the minute they lost Norris, I thought, well,
yeah,
because they just have nobody to step in because they have no depth as in their top six. They don't even have enough guys to have a top 6, and then you have one go down, your best centerman, maybe your best forward, debatable, and you got nobody to throw in there. And that's the build of this team. And last year, through 13 games of no winning, the GM was paralyzed. Did absolutely nothing. We're here.
Yep.
We're here again. We going to get paralyzed again, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I guess something has to happen, or it won't, and it'll just be another one of those years, I guess, that we can chalk up. So the lines, I mean, I don't even know what to do with the lines.
They have one line.
Right.
I don't like to number lines, but if we're going to number lines, to me, they have a first line and 3 fourth lines right now.
And the first line is signed by is centered by a third line center, right, in McLeod. Like, that's basically.
Yeah, but he did really well. McLeod. Yeah. McLeod's line was according to Money Puck, was the 7th best line in the NHL with Doan and Tuck.
Yep.
They were doing very well. Then he centers Thompson and Tuck, and all of a sudden they dominate the third period against Carolina, and both Tuck and Thompson score. Well, what's the common denominator in those? The centerman,
right,
who has speed and is backing off the other team. So, he's not putting up points. I'll give him that. But still, I mean, as I said, according to analytics, he was centering the 7th best line in the NHL.
Well, that I think a lot of that could be due to if you're playing down the lineup a little bit there, which that line was not their top ice time line when they were relatively healthy. That's a favorable matchup, and that's good that you can win that. We'll see if they can keep going with what they had.
And I'm not making a case for him to be a number one.
No,
center.
I know. You're just saying it's not as big a problem as
he's doing pretty well.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. But he's not a number one center. We all know that.
I very short-sightedly did not even mention. I mean, not that there's a lot to analyze about it, but added to the list of the calamity and there's a horrible luck is the situation that's happening with Dahlin, with him leaving the team for the time being, and we have no idea how, or at least I don't know of any timeline on that. And that's another, obviously super huge piece to the team that has not really been all that he can be, which we all understand why now, even more so. I mean, you made the point the first time I even brought up Dahlin and his play not being at the level we were expecting. You mentioned the absolutely awful situation that his partner was in, and so he's home now, and so that's another piece to this that is just making it that much more of an uphill climb for them.
Yeah, and one thing I can tell you, and you know why I can tell you this. He is unbelievably scared right now.
Yeah.
And you don't know where to look. You don't know what to do. Your heart is beating at 9 million miles an hour all day long, all night long. You wake up in a cold sweat. You're anxious. I mean, and then on top of it, you're trying to go out and play your best hockey.
Right.
And so, and I've asked people on, politely, who start ripping into him, like, could we show the kid a little bit of grace here? I mean, I don't want to make excuses for people, but come on. I mean, the kid probably shouldn't even be playing, but he's trying. He's the captain of the team, and he's trying to do what he feels is the right thing. And, it's a tough situation for him.
No question about it. No question about it. Where do we turn from here? Goaltending. Colton Ellis gets his shot tonight, right? Boy, after being so bullish, it was just last week, right? I think we both sort of thought maybe Luukkonen would get the game on Tuesday on the heels of the good finish against Washington, and it turned out that he didn't. And but when he did finally get back in, it did not go well. I mean,
one good start and two bad ones.
Right. I mean, the Sabres they kind of carried the game on Thursday against St. Louis, but the goals against, the second one especially. I mean, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The third one's an empty netter, so who cares? But boy, that second goal was just, dude, what?
Yeah, he only gave up 2, but the first one's a breakaway. But come on. If you're going to be a good team, you got to make a big save. Help a guy out. Help one of your teammates out. And this second one, he only gave up 2. I get that.
Yeah.
And you got goalied by a guy who had the worst goaltending numbers in the NHL. His goals against was like 5.02.
Yep.
And you got goalied by this guy. But at the end of the day, he only gave up 2. But still, they weren't goals that. And he didn't look confident the whole night. He just looked like he was off.
Yeah.
And then, somebody else, a goaltending coach, might say, yeah, well, that's why you got to keep him in the net so he can, get going and get – well, right now they need wins. As I said, their season could be over by the weekend. They need wins right now. And Colton Ellis was going to play in Toronto, woke up with back – they even sent him there early. He wasn't there for the home game. He was in Toronto already. And, woke up with back spasms and – that's so here we are. That was on October 22nd where he had his NHL debut, and he was going to play a few days later, maybe 4, something like that, and he couldn't. So now, he's going to get another opportunity. When Lindy Ruff said that, it was almost obvious which game it would be. I mean, come on. He's not going to play the second of a back-to-back against Colorado.
With this lineup in front of him. On top of it, right?
I mean, so I'm thinking, that's not the game.
Yeah.
You probably want to give – Lyon didn't get the first Red Wing game. You probably want to give him the Red Wing game. That's what he played with last year. So this is the game that made sense all along to me, and this is the game he's going to get.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope the kid is on point. He had a great debut, no question about that, and hopefully he can do some good things for them tonight in this game in Utah. All right, Paul, get to the rink, and we will hear from you, I don't know, about 90 minutes or so.
Yep, 8 o'clock, I'll be on with Brian.
All right, there you go. There's Paul Hamilton live in Utah. Sabres and Mammoth coming your way tonight. Like we just said, Paul and Brian will get us going with pregame coverage starting at 8 o'clock, face-off a little bit after 9. The Sabres will travel right after this game to Denver. Not a long trip at all, for same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow, 9 o'clock against the Avalanche, and then finish this trip up in Detroit on Saturday. Paul's appearance with me here on WGR, by the way, is brought to you by Equitable Advisors. Planning for your future is about more than just money. Let Equitable be your guide, and by Relax Honda. Relax. We got this. That's going to put a lid on our hockey conversation. We'll get back to football as Eric Wood joined us for his weekly visit, and we will get you that conversation right after this. Back into the Bills we go here on WGR.